If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 81. No problem, let's have Lily Gant give it a try. Hikaru smiled. Carving is a real test of a craftsman's skill. If you can achieve meticulous detail in your carving, then you're a qualified artisan. Just like when you sculpted the ancient relic slabs before. Yo up. Doublade's twin swords immediately responded with satisfaction. It was very pleased with Hikaru's praise. That's right. It was the chief knight under the king and a master sculptor. Even the kitchen knives had been retired. In its presence no tool could compare to its precision in carving. Next, Lily Gant, since you are in your Hisuian form, your current ability is Hustle. Hustle greatly increases your power, but at the cost of lowering accuracy. So, by practicing carving, we might be able to gradually correct or even eliminate the downside of this ability. That's what I think. Hustle increases the user's attack by 1.5 times but reduces the accuracy of physical moves by 20%. For many, this is a rather disadvantageous ability. While moves become stronger, missing attacks makes them meaningless. Even moves with perfect accuracy could become unreliable due to this drawback. It's common knowledge that a move with 90 accuracy is as good as 0 accuracy. In reality, even moves with perfect accuracy could be dodged by the legendary Just Dodge It technique. But the real issue with Hustle is that even if the opponent doesn't actively dodge, your attacks might still miss. That's quite the hassle, which is why using detailed carving work to improve precision is crucial. Dowblade itself had learned a lot from carving and even improved its move accuracy through this practice. Lily Gant nodded and then focused all its attention on the rock that Regirock had carried over. Meanwhile, Hikaru started guiding Lily Gant in carving. It didn't matter if this rock was ruined, this was just practice. Previously, Hikaru and Regirock had moved a lot of rocks together, and having a strong partner really made the work easier. Before long, under the cutting edge of Leaf Blade, a rather rough and unimpressive sculpture was formed. Its model, of course, was Hikaru. However, upon seeing the disastrous sculpture it had made, Hisuian Lily Gant became a little discouraged. This is terrible. It had already pictured Hikaru's handsome face in its mind, but its leaves refused to cooperate. This is the drawback of Hustle, struggling to accurately control the placement of your attacks. Hikaru examined the sculpture and couldn't help but laugh. Haha, so this is me, hey. Lily Gant covered its face, feeling too ashamed to look at anyone. Dowblade, on the other hand, was brimming with pride. Ha, you're nowhere near my level in carving. Hikaru comforted Lily Gant. Don't worry. Practice makes perfect. You'll improve next time. By repeating the process, you'll overcome the flaws of your ability. Lily Gant nodded determinedly and encouraged itself. Next time, it would definitely do better. The work Hikaru assigned it had to complete it perfectly. Its stubborn personality made it a bit of a perfectionist, but thankfully, with its trainer's support, Lily Gant quickly regained its confidence. As long as it was with its trainer, be it in life, battle, or work, nothing would ever be too difficult. Looking into Doublade's eyes, Lily Gant suddenly put its hands on its hips. Doublade Senpai was probably thinking something rude again. Ugh. Meanwhile, Hikaru had found another stone and started carving. This was an order from Clay and Mustard. But how would they deliver it? The Pokémon Center in Smokespire City should have a way. If not, they could send more Dragon-type and Psychic-type Pokémon to transport it with telekinesis. As Hikaru carved, both Hisuian Lily Gant and Dowblade watched intently. Although Dowblade had mocked Lily Gant's poor carving skills, it still took the time to explain key techniques when watching Hikaru work. Unknowingly, Dowblade was starting to show the demeanor of a true sculpting expert. Lily Gant also listened attentively while letting its imagination run wild. Dowblade Sr. always said some ridiculous things, but it was actually a very kind Pokémon. It was just too careless and easily got carried away. During the process, Hikaru even had Dowblade help out, while Lily Gant watched closely, preparing for its own training. At some point, Regirock had also woken up. It stood silently, making no sound, just watching Hikaru carve. After a long while, the first stone sculpture was completed. Craftsmanship completed. Crafted item, large ancient statue Shinto ruins style. Description, a stone sculpture imitating ancient artistic styles, modeled after Urshifu, rapid strike style. It boasts an impressive level of realism and authenticity. Some collectors may be willing to pay a high price for it. Effect: Flowing Water. Secret Water-type Pokémon's offensive abilities see significant improvement, training efficiency plus 25%. Yo! Dowblade examined the stone carving. This was the Pokémon it had seen in the photo on the computer the other day. Looking at the picture didn't leave much of an impression, but now that it had been turned into a statue, it realized just how powerful this Pokémon looked. It seemed incredibly strong. As Hikaru finished his work, he noticed all the Pokémon gathering around the statue. Dowblade and Gant were studying his carving technique, trying to learn, while Regirock seemed to be evaluating it, the H on its face flashing continuously. Turwig, with its mouth slightly open, stared blankly at the lifelike stone statue. It felt as if the sculpture might come to life at any moment, and that thought terrified it a little. Beep beep. The computer in the room made a sound. Hikaru wiped the sweat from his forehead and glanced around. Turwig had begun mimicking soil cultivation techniques, Dowblade had returned inside, and Gant was still examining the statue, determined to overcome its ability's drawback. Meanwhile, Turwig, sitting by the medicinal plants, was absorbing sunlight and tilting its head curiously while watching Gant carve the stone. Hikaru walked over to the computer and saw a new email. The sender's ID read Ice Sculptor. Wait a minute, could this be? I saw your sculpture. It's so lifelike it perfectly captures the essence of Pokémon. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Pryce from Mahogany Town. I am searching for an item that can enhance ice-type Pokémon. My training method involves meditating on ice, but lately, I've felt that just sitting still isn't enough. I want to train under extreme snowfall conditions, and someone recommended you to me. Icy rock, perhaps. Hikaru quickly typed back. As expected, you do have what I need. Icy rock extends the duration of hail, which is extremely useful for me. These stones are hard to come by. Let's discuss a price, shall we? Also, I am very interested in your sculpting skills. If you have the time, I'd like to invite you to Mahogany Town. We are holding an ice sculpture exhibition in mid-October. Your craftsmanship is truly exquisite, and I look forward to your work. Of course, there will be special prizes for the winner. You won't leave empty-handed. Consider this a formal invitation. This was an order from Pryce. Chapter 82. Hikaru added Pryce as a friend and engaged in an in-depth discussion about the art of sculpture. Pryce sighed with admiration, surprised that someone as young as Hikaru had already mastered such an impressive level of sculpting skill. Though it was a family craft, youth itself was an advantage. With further study and dedication, Hikaru's future achievements would be limitless. Elite 4 Grusha has been training at the Glacido Path recently. He was the one who mentioned you, which led me to find you. By the way, since I'm already here, why don't I commission a sculpture as well? Let's see. I think I'd like one of seal. Seal reminds me of a mistake I made when I was younger. Long ago, due to my own immaturity, I once put a seal in danger. On the Seafoam Islands in Kanto, I was supposed to save a fallen seal. But I ended up collapsing as well. After that, I reflected on my own shortcomings and dedicated myself to teaching others about the harsh realities of the world. Later, during a battle, I was badly burned by a magmortar and was bedridden for a long time. During that time, my Piloswine left during a snowstorm and never returned. I thought it had abandoned me. So, I trained my Pokémon rigorously, keeping my distance from them and avoiding forming bonds. But recently, someone taught me that the bond between Pokémon and humans is never truly broken. You have Pokémon too, don't you? The time you've spent with them, treasure it. Sorry, I'm rambling again. If I can't even follow my own advice, what right do I have to lecture others? Hikaru chatted with Pryce and learned about his past experiences. Wait a minute, was this a mix of the games, the anime, and the special manga? This really was a blended world. It perfectly aligned with something Pryce had said himself. I have tasted all kinds of pain. If the Lapras incident was added to the mix, Pryce truly had an unfortunate life. At least this version of Pryce hadn't gone to the extreme of becoming the masked man. After finishing the conversation with Pryce, another notification popped up. Hikaru soon realized it was a message from a previous customer who had bought one of his sculptures. Avant-garde art, apologies for messaging you out of the blue. If I am disturbing you, I sincerely apologize. However, your sculptures have truly captivated me. They are the epitome of avant-garde art. On September 15th, an art exhibition will be held in Zapopico, Paldea. I would love for you to participate. I will cover your travel expenses if you are interested. Hey? Another invitation? Hikaru recalled that Morty from Ekrutique City had also mentioned inviting him there. Steel Master Byron was looking for him, and now there was Pryce and this client. Wait, the way this person talked, could they actually be Brassus, the sculptor gym leader? Have my sculptures really amazed these master sculptors? Maybe it's because of the Shinto ruins style. Hikaru pondered for a moment and asked about the schedule. Fortunately, the ice sculpture exhibition was in November, meaning there was no conflict with the Paldea event. He agreed to attend. Avant-garde art, thank you so much for accepting. I will make the best preparations to welcome you. No need for anything fancy, I can make my own way there. My sculpting art. Avant-garde art, that very traditional sculpting style is what fascinates me. The blend of ancient and modern artistry, its cultural value, and its ability to merge tradition with innovation, it exudes a unique power. Oh, right. I have rudely disturbed you without introducing myself, my apologies. I am Brassus, the gym leader of Zapopico. I am also a somewhat well-known sculptor. Somewhat well-known. That's an understatement. He's actually very famous. Hikaru, I'm just an ordinary craftsman. Avant-garde art, such humility. You don't need to doubt yourself. As a craftsman, you already possess the eyes and instincts to discover beauty, it's just that you've been so immersed in sculpting that you haven't noticed. Your work has been an enormous inspiration for me, especially since I've been stuck in a creative block. I will eagerly await your arrival in Zapopico. Another invitation. Before even leaving Shinto, he already had multiple events lined up. It was strangely overwhelming. But being recognized by so many people was a good thing, Hikaru thought. After all, his goal was to revive the workshop. If participating in these exhibitions could boost the workshop's reputation, then of course, he had to go. This is a good thing. Hikaru smiled. I have to keep working hard. At the very least, he needed to get the Johto folks, who barely went online, to recognize his work. For now, Hikaru continued sculpting. With Doublade's help, he completed the last 2 statues. Craftsmanship completed. Crafted item, large ancient statue Shinto ruins style. Description, a stone sculpture mimicking ancient artistic styles, modeled after Urshifu, single strike style. It boasts an impressive level of realism and authenticity. Some collectors may be willing to pay a high price for it. Effect, Secrets of the Abyss Dark-type Pokémon's offensive capabilities increase significantly, training efficiency plus 25%. Craftsmanship completed. Crafted item, large ancient statue Shinto ruins style. Description, a stone sculpture mimicking ancient artistic styles, modeled after Hydreigon. It boasts an impressive level of realism and authenticity. Some collectors may be willing to pay a high price for it. Effect, Ferocious Strength increases efficiency by 15% when breaking objects, including rock smash. Due to repeatedly completing similar work, knowledge has been gained. Large-scale sculptor, increases efficiency and technique for large-scale sculptures by 25%. Sculpted works become more aesthetically pleasing. Aesthetic quality plus 25%. Phew, done. Hikaru sat on the steps, clenched his fist, and reflected on his recent progress. With the improvement in various skills, his sculpting efficiency, speed, and even his own physical strength had all increased significantly. With Doublade's assistance, his carving speed had reached an almost unnatural level. It felt as if the stones in his hands were no longer solid rocks. In fact, under his tools, they even felt somewhat soft. His advancements in forging techniques had also made his tools much more effective, a reinforcement in the right direction. The 3 Pokémon gathered around, examining the 3 large sculptures. Regirock, who had been in deep slumber, also woke up. After standing up, it approached the sculptures, the H symbol on its face flashing. It seemed quite satisfied with the sculpting techniques used in experts' evaluation. Meanwhile, Hikaru started mumbling to himself again. In ancient craftsmanship, he had already created many ancient stone statues, but the awakening power of the ancient bracelet was proving difficult to obtain. Maybe I should search online. Perhaps the trademark versions produced by Silphco might contain hidden power. While hidden power was generally considered a signature move of Unown, some Pokémon could naturally learn it through leveling up. And there was even a certain human who could use it. In the games, an overweight man near the Lake of Rage had unlocked hidden power through meditation and psychic training. Hikaru also opened his Pokejar and checked the shipping status of his purchases. Items ordered from Unova and Galar were still in transit and would take about 2 more days to arrive. However, packages from Johto and Kanto had already reached Blackthorn City's Pokémon Center. The reason for the delay in delivery was likely because Hikaru's home was in a remote location. The Pokémon Center was probably waiting for all his shipments to arrive before making a single delivery. Looks like that Charizard was going to be busy again. At the same time, Hikaru started reconsidering the word arrangements on the symbol slab. I've already arranged the words for Celebi. If I rearrange them again, unexpected things might happen. To avoid causing trouble for Celebi, maybe I should try forming the words for Calyrex instead? It should have a similar effect on crops, right? However, at this point in time, Calyrex was still in its weakened state. It couldn't be called the king of bounty, rather, it was the king of barrenness. If I establish contact with it now, will I drain its remaining power? Or, would I be able to provide it with a small amount of faith? Just as Hikaru was thinking about this, he noticed something on the back of one of the sculptures, a single black eye staring at him. Oh, it was Unown, the laziest one of the bunch. Unown. Unown floated up. It was offering to help. Help? Wait, you heard what I was just saying. Hikaru looked at Unown in surprise, and it immediately wobbled up and down. That's right, it was here to help with hidden power. Hikaru's surprise quickly turned into excitement, and he started contemplating further. But hidden power? It's said that Unown can manifest human thoughts into reality. Upon hearing Hikaru mutter this, Unown suddenly looked guilty. This moment had finally come. The other Pokémon also noticed something suspicious about Unown. Their expressions turned curious, and they stared at it intensely. Dowblade sensed that something wasn't right. Gant also shot Unown a doubtful look. Even Turwig had picked up on it. Yo! Lily! Nah! Unown wobbled in the air, then decided to confess everything. It admitted that the strange dreams Hikaru had before were its doing. But it only did it to grant Hikaru's wish. It meant no harm. After revealing the truth, Unown's eye seemed to relax, as if it had been carrying a burden for a long time. Hikaru was stunned. So, the dream from before was connected to you? Now it all makes sense. However, he wasn't mad. Instead, he smiled. Actually, I should be thanking you. Because of your power, I was able to form a connection with that mysterious Pokémon. You saw it in the dream too, didn't you? It was only because of you that I had this amazing encounter. Unown, our meeting is just another part of this incredible journey of life. Unown blinked in surprise, then suddenly beamed with joy. Unown. Chapter 83. Hikaru quickly carved a bracelet and, based on the information from the ancient awakening craft, engraved the corresponding move inscription on it. This should do it. The Pokémon gathered curiously around him as Hikaru raised the bracelet high. Unown then began using hidden power. A mysterious light enveloped Unown, and soon, the inscriptions on the bracelet started to glow. Natural energy gathered and transformed into flames, which were then sealed into the ancient bracelet. The ancient bracelet was activated. Various thoughts surged into Hikaru's mind, coalescing into information. Artifact, Ancient Bracelet Move Armlet. Description, an ancient tool once used by Pokémon to learn moves. It can slightly enhance the wearer's mental strength. The bracelet can absorb a corresponding move and store it. Currently, this bracelet is empty. Corresponding move, Encore. Hikaru looked at Gant. Use Encore on this bracelet. Gant swayed its leaf-like arms on either side of its body. 2 streaks of light appeared beside the bracelet, enveloping it. In the next moment, the light gradually dimmed until it vanished completely, while the inscriptions on the bracelet glowed before slowly returning to tranquility. The information about the ancient bracelet in Hikaru's vision changed. Move teachable, Encore. It worked. I've made a move tutor. Although the ancient bracelet version of a move tutor isn't as efficient as the move learning discs produced by Silphco, this bracelet also enhances the wearer's mental strength. For trainers who possess psychic abilities, spiritual power, or other special energies, such an item is invaluable. Coincidentally, a customer from Unova had previously inquired about psychic glass whistles and had requested more artistic items to be stocked in Hikaru's store. If I carve the bracelet beautifully, it could also be considered an artwork. After all, it's a psychic bracelet. The selling point of the ancient bracelet, aside from its psychic enhancing ability, is its ability to store rare moves. Even ordinary customers might find it appealing. As for pricing, it only requires a small amount of ancient rock, while the rest can be crafted from regular jade or stone. No need to price it too high. The key is to highlight the natural beauty of the jade while using the inscriptions to emphasize its mystique. In later Pokémon generations, several unique moves were introduced. Only a few Pokémon could naturally learn these moves through leveling up, while most Pokémon required move tutors or move learning discs. For example, the most famous among them Body Press. Even a powerful Pokémon like Zamazenta couldn't learn Body Press in the Galar region. Even when it reached its loyal Paldea region, it still had to use a move tutor to learn it. Besides Body Press, other famous moves include Dual Wing Beat, Psychic Noise, Dragon Cheer, Heavy Slam, even Draco Meteor. All of these moves cannot be learned by leveling up alone, they require move tutors or specialized learning methods. Among such moves, the first one that came to Hikaru's mind was Ice Spinner. Hisui Lilligant had mastered Ice Spinner, which was also a rare move. In the wild, only Wailmer and Wailord could learn it naturally. Any other Pokémon that wanted to learn it had to invest in special training. To Hikaru, moves that Pokémon learn through leveling up are likely their innate abilities, natural instincts that require no additional effort to master. However, Pokémon lacking this innate talent must learn such moves through external means. Of course, exclusive moves are also extremely rare. For example, Victory Dance, which Lilligant had mastered, could only be learned by Hisui and Lilligant. Alternatively, there's Smeargle, which, thanks to Sketch, can theoretically learn every move that any Pokémon can use. Pollen Puff is another one. In the wild, only Ribombee can learn it. It was once considered an exclusive move. Weather Ball is also a rare move, but because the Weather Institute in Hoenn has thoroughly studied cast form, a move tutor for Weather Ball has long been available. Grass Knot and Grassy Terrain. Grass Knot was once considered an exclusive move for Carnivine, but a move tutor was later developed for it. As for Grassy Terrain, I don't think there's a move tutor for it yet. Oh, and Grassy Glide. This move tutor would definitely sell well in Galar. Speaking of Grassy Glide, the Pokémon that benefits most from it is none other than Rillaboom, one of the 5 emperors of competitive battles, Rillaboom, Incineroar, Urshifu, Landorus, and Thundurus. It also requires a move tutor to learn this move. Hikaru reviewed the rare moves mastered by Lilligant before turning to Dowblade. The two stared at each other. Yo-Yo Dowblade voiced its opinion. Of course, Psycho Cut, right? No, a move tutor for Psycho Cut already exists. But your version is quite unique, maybe it would sell well. Hikaru waved his hand dismissively. Dowblade's twin eyes darted around before suddenly changing its mind. There were already many of those on the market? Then forget it. Its Psycho Cut was a unique technique. If other Pokémon could learn it, what then? No way, not for sale. Yub. Shadow Sneak. That's a common move. Even mischievous Misdreavus in the wild can use it, and even Spinarak hiding in the forest knows it. Night Slash. You might not believe it, but even Dugtrio can learn that move. Yo-Oh. Brick Break. That's a staple move for fighting type experts. Even human martial artists can use it. Yoab. Autotomize. That one's a bit rare, but many common steel-type Pokémon across different regions can learn it. And in terms of effect, it's basically a replacement for agility, so it's not particularly unique. Of course, your Autotomize is special because you literally discard your scabbard, that's your own unique style. Dowblade's eyes narrowed. Could it be that Dowblade had no true signature move to boast of? Hikaru was just picking on it. Hikaru sighed helplessly. Indeed, Dowblade's move pool didn't have anything particularly exclusive, but it did have plenty of practical moves. However, in terms of high-powered stab moves, there wasn't much to hope for. The strongest move it could learn was close combat, and Hikaru had always thought that Dowblade's practiced technique of continuous cancel slashes was already quite close to close combat. A normal Fury Cutter shouldn't be that ridiculous. N.A. Turtwig let out a small cry. Hikaru raised a finger. Oh. Turtwig, your unique move is Shell Smash. There isn't a move tutor for that on the market, but the learning pool is pretty limited since most Pokémon that learn it need to have a shell. But that doesn't matter. What matters is if we make Shell Smash into a move tutor item, then other Turtwig, Grotle and Torterra could learn it too. This would be an extremely valuable move for new trainers in Sinnoh who choose Turtwig. And in Galar, there's a Pokémon called Drednaw that also struggles to learn Shell Smash. So, this move tutor item would sell incredibly well in Galar too. Upon hearing Hikaru's words, Turtwig's eyes sparkled. N.A. Even a small and weak Pokémon like itself possessed such an important and powerful move? To think that the Shell Smash it had instinctively known was such an incredible technique. Yo-oh! Dowblade suddenly felt uneasy. It stared at Turtwig, and ghostly energy gathered around its hilt, forming an angry mark that startled the small turtle. Even this little Turtwig had a signature move. Then why, as a starter Pokémon, did it have nothing unique? Was it really that underestimated? Actually, you do have something unique, Hikaru reassured it. If you learn Sacred Sword, that move is exclusive to only Hunch, Dowblade, Aegislash, Gallade and Samurott among regular Pokémon. All the other Pokémon that can learn it are legendary or mythical. Sacred Sword ignores stat changes and deals direct damage. It's an incredibly powerful move. And when you evolve, your King's Shield will be an exclusive move that only you can use. Oh? Dowblade's spirits lifted. Sacred Sword, was it? So, the legend about slaying a dragon and a sword transforming into a holy blade wasn't just a story, it was a real move. That's right. 1,000 years ago, probably no one even knew about this move. Hikaru pondered. So, do you want to learn it using an Arceus statue? Just so you know, Sacred Sword is a fighting type move. Dowblade's eyes sharpened but then hesitated. Yo-oh! If it successfully learned the move, that would be great. But what if it didn't and ended up learning something else instead? That would be a waste. The Arceus statue was too precious, and now didn't seem like the best time to use it. Dowblade decided to wait a few days or maybe even until evolution before making a final decision. Yoab. Right, Sacred Sword is a fighting type move, isn't it? Then, if it kept practicing Brick Break, wouldn't it eventually master the essence of Sacred Sword? Chapter 84. Learning Sacred Sword from Brick Break? I hadn't thought about that, but it does make sense. For you, both involve channeling fighting type energy to strike with your blade, so it's definitely possible to learn it. That works too. Although some moves can be learned after evolution, the move pool of Dowblade and Aegislash is nearly identical. As long as I become strong enough, I'll definitely be able to learn Sacred Sword. Regarding move learning, according to the game's mechanics, Sacred Sword can only be learned at level 56. However, Dowblade had its own little plan. What if, by some stroke of luck, instead of learning Sacred Sword, it managed to learn Behemoth Blade instead? Wouldn't that be even better? The effects of the Arceus statue were so powerful that it had to be saved for critical moments. Dowblade decided it needed to intensify its Brick Break training over the next few days. As Hikaru prepared to carve more unique move-imbued bracelets, Regirock, who had been silently observing everyone's work, suddenly let out a series of strange sounds, shali, shashat, shali. Regirock was communicating with Hikaru, seemingly making a request. The bracelet looked a lot like something ancient people used to wear. Noticing Regirock's reaction, Hikaru's crystal heart sensed the Pokémon's emotional state and realized that this legendary titan had fallen into deep reminiscence. You want me to make more of them and seal your moves inside as well? You're saying that ancient people used to do the same. Hikaru suddenly understood. I see now. It's not just about moves, you're sealing your memories into the bracelet as well. You want these moves to continue to be passed down in this era, don't you? In that case, show me what moves you have. Regirock affirmed, stepping onto an open field nearby. It wanted to demonstrate its moves. Oh, hold on a second. Hikaru put down the carving tools and bracelets, ran back inside, and retrieved a notebook. First, sharp stone fragments began to gather around Regirock, created by pure rock-type energy before being launched into the sky with great force. Stone Edge, one of the most powerful rock-type moves, attacking the opponent with sharp-edged stones and having a high critical hit ratio. Immediately after, Regirock swung its arms down at the distant field, causing large slabs of rock to crash down from above. Rock Slide, a move that hurls massive boulders at opponents, with a chance to make them flinch. Regirock then proceeded to showcase Stomping Tantrum, Thunder Wave, Charge Beam, Iron Defense, Hammer Arm, Hyper Beam, and even the elemental punches Ice Punch, Fire Punch, and Thunder Punch. It even demonstrated the high-powered Thunder and Zap cannon. For a Rock-type Pokémon, Regirock sure had an oddly extensive pool of Electric-type special attacks. Hikaru couldn't help but think how peculiar the move pool of these ancient Rock Titans was. However, Regirock didn't seem to have any truly unique moves. Previously, Superpower had been its signature move, but it eventually became widely learnable by other Pokémon. Just as Hikaru was pondering this, Regirock suddenly raised its arm. A powerful burst of psychic energy surged outward from its body, instantly pulling Doublade and Unown, who had been floating mid-air, down to the ground. Yo-oo! Anon! The two airborne Pokémon were forcefully yanked down, while Hikaru also felt an overwhelming force pressing down on the entire area. No, this was gravity. A field of intense gravity had formed. Pokémon with Levitate or the Flying type were now susceptible to ground-type moves, and airborne attacks were completely disabled. This is a rare move. But hurry up and disable it, I can't breathe properly. Hikaru hurriedly reached out, while Regirock stood there blankly, watching everyone struggle under the crushing force. Realizing something was wrong, it quickly carried them out of the affected zone. It could activate gravity but had no idea how to turn it off. Phew, that was close. Hikaru collapsed onto the ground, while Doublade and Unown floated back into the air. Regirock looked slightly embarrassed, the H-shaped marking on its face flashing rapidly. Back when it lived alongside humans, it used this move whenever flying-type Pokémon tried to harass it, simply pulling them down and beating them up afterward. It was incredibly useful. If it couldn't fly, then no one should be able to fly. This is indeed a rare and highly practical move, Hikaru commented. In real battles, gravity could restrict not only Pokémon with the Levitate ability and flying types, but also Pokémon like Doublade and Unown, which used psychic energy or mystic power to float. In the games, it also negated moves like Telekinesis and Magnet Rise, while significantly increasing the accuracy of all moves. Hikaru took notes and recorded the move. Regirock, the Pokémon from the Rock Peak Ruins. Ability, Clear Body. Mild Nature. Encountered in the field outside the workshop. Often lost in thought. With that done, Hikaru began crafting even more bracelets, especially the gravity bracelet with Regirock's help. By the time Hikaru finished everything, the sky had already darkened. After hastily making some mushroom cakes to restore the Pokémon's stamina, Hikaru ate some berries and rations to satisfy hunger. Then, sitting with the Pokémon in the open field, they watched the setting sun in quiet repose, enjoying a brief moment of rest. Regirock, unlike the others, didn't need to eat. It could replenish its energy simply by standing still, which was quite a peculiar ability. Turwig approached Regirock, attempting to strike up a conversation with the giant. Although their languages were somewhat difficult to understand for one another, Pokémon had their own way of communicating when their intentions were sincere, their hearts could connect. Seeing Regirock and Turwig chatting, Doublade immediately joined in on the conversation between companions. Doublade considered Regirock to be a Pokémon of a similar kind to itself, so it proactively engaged in conversation with the Titan while also helping translate for Turwig. Turwig's eyes lit up as it curiously looked at Doublade. Nah. Hikaru had a mysterious ability that allowed communication with Pokémon, but why was Doublade able to converse so naturally with the stone giant as well? Doublade proudly declared that it was simply because Turwig was still too young and hadn't seen many ancient things. It, on the other hand, had lived for 1,000 years. Living for 1,000 years is impressive, Hikaru interjected, joining the conversation, but you spent most of that time sleeping, didn't you? Besides, it's said that Torterra can also live for a long time. Both Doublade and Turwig froze for a moment at Hikaru's words, while Hikaru continued with a smile. It's said that Torterra lives deep within forests in groups and roams across mountains in search of pure water. Some migrating forests are actually groups of Torterra moving together to find water sources. A long time ago, humans imagined that beneath the earth lay a massive Torterra, and that some Pokémon were even born on its back and spent their entire lives there. Torterra is Turtwig's final evolution. It's huge and can live for a very long time. Doublade's twin eyes widened in shock. What? This silly little turtle could one day grow to be as massive as the land itself? Nah. Turwig, too, had never seen a Torterra before. It was born in an area where there were no others of its kind, so after hearing Hikaru's description, it suddenly felt a deep sense of yearning. If it could grow to be as big as the land or at least as large as a hillside, then it could plant so many rare plants. And surely, no Pokémon would dare to mess with it then. The small Turtwig, at that moment, was filled with hope for the future. Dowblade gently nudged Turtwig with its ribbon-like arms, still finding it hard to believe that the tiny turtle could one day grow so massive. Turtwig looked down at its own body. It was also a bit doubtful, but dreaming about the future was never a bad thing. Turtwig began to imagine all the possibilities. Not long after, Hisuian Lilligant gracefully made her way over, cheerfully pacing about. She glanced at the sunset, then at her trainer, and after a while, she trotted over to the three Pokémon, listening in on their conversation about the past. It was a story from 1,000 years ago. Before she knew it, Lilligant began to feel a bit sentimental and asked Regirock whether it had ever had a trainer. Regirock pondered for a moment before nodding. If someone who commanded it counted as a trainer, then yes, it did have one, a girl. She was a very dear friend to it, and it was she who had taught it the custom of giving beautiful flowers as a way of making friends. Curious, Lilligant then asked if Regirock had a tribe. The H-shaped markings on Regirock's face flickered as it processed the question. A tribe? Did she mean others that looked like it or were similar to it? If she meant Regis and Registeel, then perhaps it did have a tribe. Regirock explained to Lilligant that there were two other titans similar to itself. One was the Ice Titan, and the other was the Steel Titan. However, when it unexpectedly awoke in its temple, it discovered that the other two were still asleep. Yo-oo! Dowblade immediately jumped into the conversation. As expected, it was just like itself. It, too, had awoken by accident, and if that hadn't happened, it would still be collecting dust inside some warehouse. As the Pokémon continued their conversation, Hikaru, having rested enough, returned to the workshop. While passing by the engraved stone tablet, Hikaru suddenly paused for a moment. After some thought, he took apart the letters in Regirock's name and rearranged them into a new word. Budrex Calyrex. Chapter 85. The moment the word arrangement was completed, the surrounding environment remained unchanged. Hikaru glanced at the glowing moss in the flower pot, then opened the window to check the nearby land. The sunlit earth still looked the same. There was no sudden, premature harvest. A gentle breeze swept through the window, carrying a white herb into the room. Hikaru caught it between his fingers, momentarily speechless. He couldn't even tell whether this herb had been brought in by his own knowledge and skill or by Calyrex's power. Figures, still powerless as ever. Calyrex was once the legendary king of ancient Galar, classified as the king Pokémon. It possessed extraordinary intelligence and was said to see through the past, present, and future. It was also known as the king of bountiful harvests, with the power to heal hearts and make plants flourish. It was said that when it raised its right hand, flowers would bloom and lush greenery would spread, and when it raised its left hand, the land would become fertile and crops would yield abundant harvests. However, unlike many other legendary Pokémon, Calyrex drew its strength from faith. If it lost the belief of its followers, its power would diminish drastically. As for its appearance like a bipedal rabbit with a giant broccoli crown? Of course, Calyrex wasn't the only Pokémon with such nature-based powers. For example, in Johto, Celebi was revered as the guardian of the forest, and in Sinnoh, the mythical Pokémon shaman could turn barren lands into flower fields. However, when it came to agriculture and harvests, Calyrex was the true specialist. Yet, over centuries, the people of Crown Tundra forgot their legendary king. The disappearance of faith caused Calyrex's power to fade, leaving it so weak that it could no longer command its two steeds, let alone bless the land with prosperity. Moreover, the wooden effigy of Calyrex in Crown Tundra was missing its head. The statue was worshipped incorrectly, treated as a local tourist attraction, and because no one noticed the flaw, it played a significant role in Calyrex's loss of power. In Johto, Celebi's power would probably be more effective, but since I've already assembled Calyrex's name, I should at least do something. Muttering to himself, Hikaru sincerely made a prayer. O King of bountiful harvests, please bless the land of Shint. Perhaps this could provide Calyrex with some faith. However, Hikaru believed that the power Calyrex required wasn't just faith in the traditional sense, but rather remembrance. It needed people to know it exists, to recognize its form, to speak its name, to believe in its power, and to remember its legacy. But one person's belief wasn't enough, so Hikaru came up with another idea. Previously, a customer had suggested creating merchandise like plush dolls, even placing a no-time limit pre-order for a Lapras doll. That customer had also inquired about ice-type items. Unfortunately, items like Nevermelt Ice weren't something Hikaru could easily obtain. Perhaps the traveling merchant, Valo, might have some in stock. However, making plush dolls? That was no problem at all. After securing a batch of supplies from the village, the workshop now had plenty of materials to craft a whole series of plush dolls. Now, it was time to put advanced textile crafting to good use. Although Hikaru usually used this skill to create focus sashes, this crafting method could also be applied to make power-infused textile artifacts. Making a standard substitute or Clefairy doll would be too dull. The customer requested a Lapras doll, but before I make that, I have a bold idea. Why not make a Calyrex doll first? Hikaru gathered needle, thread, cotton stuffing, and durable fabric, then took out paper and a pen to sketch out Calyrex's basic design. By following the drawing's outline, he could reduce the chances of making mistakes. My memory is still sharp, and done. The sketch was simple, nothing particularly artistic, but Hikaru realized that his drawing style had a distinct ancient aesthetic. Perhaps it was as he suspected, his carving skills, influenced by the ruins of Shin, weren't limited to sculpture, they also enhanced his ability to draw. Next, Hikaru cut the fabric according to the sketch. The village didn't have a wide variety of fabric colors, but thankfully, Calyrex's color palette wasn't too complex. Green, blue, gray, and white. Hikaru cut these fabrics into specific shapes, stuffing them with cotton and Pokémon materials before sewing them together. Since Calyrex was a psychic/grass type, Hikaru carefully selected the right materials to fill the doll, including Obra's fur, for psychic-type energy, Hisuian Lilligant's leaves, for grass-type resonance, other botanical elements tied to grass Pokémon. As the sun set and the sky darkened, the Pokémon outside watched the cycle of day and night, cheering as they grew closer as companions. And inside the workshop, Hikaru finally completed the Calyrex doll. Done. The stuffing is in place, and the final stitches are finished. Hikaru examined the finished product. The doll stood at roughly 20 centimeters tall, making it a small plush figure. Since he had used durable fabric instead of plush material, its surface felt slightly firm to the touch. But the craftsmanship was flawless. Suddenly, a surge of information flooded Hikaru's mind. Crafted item, Pokémon doll Calyrex design. Description, a plush doll sewn in the image of the legendary king of bountiful harvests. Using unique crafting techniques and infused with materials from Pokémon of matching attributes, this doll has developed a spiritual resonance, granting it unique abilities. Effect 1, Mental Restoration. The Calyrex doll can heal wounded hearts, relieve mental distress, and enhance spiritual strength. Effect 2, Faith of Abundance. The Calyrex doll can cause plants to sprout and flowers to bloom. The more someone believes in its power, the faster plant life will grow. However, if one does not believe, the effect will not activate. Effect 3, Pokémon Magnet. This doll attracts Pokémon's attention and may help escape from battles with wild Pokémon. Hikaru looked at the doll in his hands and smiled. This was no ordinary toy, it was an artifact infused with the power of legend. And perhaps, through this creation, Calyrex's name would once again be remembered. Belief makes it work, disbelief renders it useless. What a fitting trait for a Calyrex-themed doll. Now that I think about it, the first two abilities are just Calyrex's own powers. But honestly, making the doll out of firm fabric doesn't look great. A plush material would be much better. Since my shipment of goods hasn't arrived yet, I should buy some plush fabric. I still have some funds left. As for the third ability, wasn't that just a common trait among dolls? After all, most plush-based items could be thrown to distract wild Pokémon, allowing for an easy escape. With that settled, Hikaru decided to send a message to his client from Unova. The Asai glass whistle, gravity bracelet, and Calyrex doll. These three products should be enough to meet the customer's request. At the same time, by promoting the Calyrex doll, Hikaru could spread awareness of Calyrex's legend, gradually restoring its power. The reason Hikaru wanted to help Calyrex was simple: to establish a connection with the legendary Pokémon and reap the benefits. More importantly, Calyrex had the ability to make a rare plant known as the glowing bloom flourish. And fabric woven from glowing bloom petals and the mane hairs of Calyrex's two steeds was said to be a mystical textile that shimmered under sunlight. This extraordinary material was the key ingredient in crafting the Reins of Unity, an essential artifact. I really want to see that material with my own eyes. Hikaru's gaze sparkled with rare excitement. Crown Tundra, Southern Mistgalar. Just as Hikaru remembered, deep within the frozen expanse, a small, rabbit-like Pokémon with a massive crown-like bud on its head slowly opened its eyes from its weakened slumber. A faint trace of faith had reached it from a distant land, an energy that was clear and precise. Without a doubt, someone in this world still remembered its form. And perhaps, even its story. How astonishing! Even the descendants of the humans it once protected, the villagers of Freezington, could no longer accurately recall its appearance or name. The fairy tale of the King of Bountiful Harvests was still passed down among the ancient lands, but the names. What kind of ridiculous names were those? It was completely wrong, far beyond acceptable. Now, stripped of faith, stripped of power, and abandoned by its two beloved steeds, how long would this sorrowful existence continue? Feeling the distant pulse of belief, Calyrex was overwhelmed by a sense of melancholy. I miss my steed, my faith, my reins. Lost in its emotions, Calyrex mustered what little power it had left to trace the source of this newfound faith. Through the fabric of space and time, it managed to catch a faint glimpse of something. It was its own for it? A doll? Calyrex's gaze lingered across the vast distance, locking onto the plush representation of itself. For some reason, as it stared at the doll, the gloom in its heart faded. Its spirit lightened. Its mind grew clearer. There was no doubt about it. Even from such a great distance, something within it had changed just from seeing that doll. Who are you? This power, it feels like mine, yet it is different. Even if I ask, you cannot hear my voice. If only, we could meet somewhere. It's too far. If only you were in Galar. With a lingering sense of regret, Calyrex closed its eyes once more. It was still weak and would need more time to rest. And as it drifted into slumber once again, its dreams turned a soft shade of pink. Chapter 86. The moment the Calyrex plush was created, far away in Unova, Caitlin suddenly opened her eyes. She had foreseen something related to that workshop she had been paying close attention to. As a powerful psychic, the ability to predict the future was fundamental. In the past, her powers had been too strong for her to control, making it difficult to use her foresight. However, ever since her butler, Darrage, sent her a Snorlax sculpture, her psychic abilities had become more refined and stable. The workshop must have released a new item. Caitlin gazed at the brightening sky. The workshop was located in the Johto region, which was far from Unova. When night fell there, it was dawn here. She yawned, stretched lazily, revealing her now more mature and graceful figure, and used her telekinesis to pull over her Pokémon, taking the initiative to message Hikaru. How did you? Oh, right, you asked me about psychic-type items before. Could it be that you are also a powerful psychic? Ah, I see, precognition, hey? Psychic abilities sure are convenient. If the shopkeeper can craft items related to psychic types, then he must possess some psychic abilities himself, right? I'm just someone with strong mental power, I'm far from having actual psychic abilities. Anyway, the reason I contacted you is that I have some new products that might interest you. The gravity bracelet, and this image the effect of the psychic glass whistle. Here's the item you were looking for image, and... As Hikaru's messages kept coming in, Caitlin's eyes lit up the moment she saw the gravity bracelet and psychic glass whistle. Unlike the previous items, these had been meticulously crafted with intricate and mysterious patterns, making them not just functional but also exquisite works of art. As for gravity itself, while rare, it wasn't impossible to obtain a trademark for it in Unova. After all, one of Unova's iconic Pokémon, Sigilyph, could naturally learn it. A reusable trademark? This is different from the usual ones. It's more like an Gravity is indeed a useful move. I was just planning on purchasing a trademark for it. Right? And the combination of gravity and hypnosis is incredibly powerful. If paired with a prankster ability Spiritomb, the effect is even more outstanding. However, for Spiritomb's held item, I can't craft the best one for it yet. So for now, you could consider options like Chesto Berry, Focus Sash, or Light Clay. Gravity Hypnosis. Caitlin muttered in curiosity. It wasn't that she hadn't heard of this strategy before. Well, actually, she hadn't seen many people use it. Mainly because gravity TMS were rare, and most trainers struggled to bond with psychic-type Pokémon. Wait. This is a strategy I had been thinking about. I didn't expect the shopkeeper to come up with the same idea. This is oddly coincidental. The shopkeeper seems to have quite a deep understanding of Pokémon battles. I just know a little here and there. Besides, I'm not a league registered trainer, so if you ever want battle advice, I can offer some suggestions now and then. But this time, I'm just here to promote my products. Some suggestions? Caitlin shook her head slightly. That was a great recommendation. She had been considering which Pokémon to teach gravity to, and Hikaru had suggested Spiritomb. The more she thought about it, the more sense it made. Since Spiritomb was a ghost type, it wouldn't be affected by moves like Taunt that could shut down support strategies. And with Prankster, it would always go first when using status moves. In double and triple battles, this strategy would be extremely effective. Spiritomb was actually the perfect user for gravity. Wait, could Spiritomb even learn gravity? She had never realized that before. Probably because gravity TMS were too rare, and current TMS broke after a single use. But, she didn't have a Spiritomb. She needed to catch one. Shopkeeper, thank you for your advice. It's very helpful. Looks like I'll be bothering you more in the future. Caitlin's gratitude was sincere. At the same time, Hikaru's shop felt even more mysterious to her. Johto. No, it should be called Shinto. The mysterious shop of Shinto? Although she had already foreseen Hikaru's appearance, psychic abilities could only reveal external details or read thoughts. However, no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't see through this person's true abilities. Then, Caitlin carefully examined the picture of a certain rabbit-like Pokémon. What Pokémon is this? This is what I foresaw. Its name is... As she thought about it, her Pokémon automatically transcribed her words into a message. Calyrex. It's a legendary Pokémon from the Galar region, though not very well known yet. Has its legend been lost? Ah, yeah, that's what I meant. The effect of its plush is able to heal the mind and cure psychological ailments. Caitlin's eyes gleamed even brighter, though old childhood memories suddenly surfaced in her mind. If it's an old, painful memory, can it heal that too? Perhaps. As long as you believe in its power, it will have that power. That's the magic of this Pokémon. It's a psychic type, after all. A psychic type Pokémon tied to lost legends? Caitlin tilted her head slightly as she gazed at the image of Calyrex. It looked like a rabbit with a broccoli head. Somewhat ridiculous looking, yet oddly adorable. The more she stared at it, the more she found it cute. Unknowingly, she let out a small chuckle. Why was it getting cuter the more she looked at it? The idea to make a plush of it actually came from another customer. But since the plush enhances psychic abilities, I decided to wait a second, someone's here. Caitlin. With her psychic intuition, Caitlin immediately sensed something unfavorable to her, a competitor for the plush. Shopkeeper, I also want to purchase future batches of the plush. No matter who's competing with me, I'll pay double the price. She sent the message immediately. Precognition is really... Hikaru was still chatting with his Unown customer when suddenly, another notification popped up. Checking the sender. It was none other than the Elite Four member, Chandelure. I foresaw the creation of an important item, the plush of a Pokémon called Calyrex. Shopkeeper, please reserve some for me. Another competitor. Hikaru hadn't expected the Calyrex plush to be this popular. Were all these psychics? Oh. Now that he thought about it, while the games never explicitly stated it, the anime and manga hinted at it. Psychics had different mental states from normal people, making them more socially withdrawn. In a way, they all struggled with psychological barriers. The stronger they were, the lonelier they became. The lonelier they were, the stronger they became. But as they grew older, met more people, and gained more experiences, their personality issues and mental blocks would gradually resolve. After all, the Pokémon world was filled with extraordinary individuals. Even random NPCs could be ridiculously powerful, like the guy who swam from Kalos to Hone. Even ordinary people in the Pokémon world defied logic. So the root of psychic types' isolation was their belief that they were different. But once they met others, they would realize. When everyone was abnormal, then society itself was normal. Sorry, Chandelure, but... You'll have to wait in line. I only made one for now. I foresaw its creation. It wasn't pre-ordered, but rather, something you decided to promote. And if I don't order it now, I won't be able to get one later. At first, Hikaru was confused by Chandel's message, but when he saw Caitlin's message, he fell into silence. After a few deep breaths, Hikaru finally replied. I think, Precognition shouldn't be used like this. So, she foresaw your future and bought everything, then you foresaw her future and came to compete, and in the end, this is what happened. Trying to prevent a prophecy from happening only to end up being a part of its fulfillment, it was a classic paradox. Hikaru sent Caitlin a message, and at the same time, he realized that while he knew she was a wealthy lady, he had never actually asked for her name. This Calyrex plush is just a prototype. I'm planning to make a new version with plush fabric, so there's no need to fight over it. This is a very important item to me. I have psychological barriers, and I really like the look of this plush. For any future similar products, I will pay double the price. Please sell it to me first. And besides, shouldn't later buyers wait in line? I'm not trying to compete, but I know the psychic type trainer you are talking to. Let me speak to him directly. Hikaru. Wait. Psychic abilities could be used like this? Communicating across different regions through psychic powers, was that really possible? Caitlin, of course not. I just foresaw his account and ID. Oh, now I've added him as a friend. Hikaru. So he was overthinking it. On the other end, Caitlin and Chandel's conversation was much more straightforward. Caitlin, Miss Chandel, I've heard of you. I didn't expect your psychic powers to be so refined that even I would be foreseen. Chandel, who had also foreseen her identity, was surprised. Miss Caitlin. I didn't expect it to be you. But aren't you supposed to be in Unova? I am in Unova. Through training, I've gradually gained full control over my psychic abilities. So, I'm not going to give up on the Calyrex plush. Caitlin was determined. This is quite difficult. Young lady, you shouldn't be so willful. At least let me buy a few. Chandel sighed. She had heard of Caitlin before. Back when she wasn't even part of the Elite Four, Caitlin already owned her battle castle in Johto. This wealthy young lady had a lot of money. If you're willing to pay double, I might consider letting you have a few. Caitlin didn't seem willing to lose out. Chandel immediately understood why and sent a bitter smile emoji. My precognition didn't work out so well this time. I guess I still need more training. Caitlin replied with a smiling emoji. Well, that's what you get for suddenly trying to snatch my item. If you hadn't used precognition, none of this would have happened. The shopkeeper was chatting with me, after all. Chandel was clearly embarrassed. Apologies, it really was my fault. But before they could continue, a system notification popped up. Both of their accounts had been added to a new group chat. Hikaru had created a customer group and added the two of them. Hikaru, this is a customer group. If you want to pre-order Calyrex Plus highs, you can make reservations here. Oh, and I should add the person who suggested making the plush in the first place. Caitlin, oh, I know who that is. She used her precognition and immediately realized the person's identity. I see. She really loves plus highs. Thanks to her, I was able to get one. If it's her, I don't mind giving up some of my pre-order spots. Chandel, oh, it's her? Yeah, she's really into plus highs. We owe this new product to her. Hikaru. Stop speaking in riddles, you psychics. Were they just casually using precognition all the time? Though, overusing psychic abilities could cause fatigue, right? As Hikaru was organizing the group, another notification popped up. Psychic Girl has joined the chat. I foresaw that this store has a unique psychic type plush, so I found this customer group. I want to buy one. Another one using precognition. Just as Hikaru was about to type a response, the Psychic Girl preemptively sent another message. Those two already foresaw who I am, so it's fine. They'll give up some of their spots for me. Chandel, that's true. Compared to us, you should be the one getting a Calyrex plush. Caitlin, oh, it's you. How have you been feeling lately? The Calyrex plush should be perfect for you. Hikaru stared at the chat, feeling like he was the one with psychological issues here. Why did it feel like he was the outsider in this psychic club? Silently, he added the ice-type trainer to the group, hoping that at least they wouldn't start speaking in riddles. Ice plushie, so this is the plushie group. Hey, you're here too. At Psychic Girl. Hikaru. Saffron City, Kanto Saffron Gym. A girl with short black hair and an emotionless expression sat inside the Saffron Gym, staring at the customer group chat. Looking at her two fellow psychic types and at Lorelei, the former Ice-type Elite Four member, she couldn't help but let a faint smile creep onto her face. Though she wasn't great at expressing emotions, sometimes, just sometimes when she was happy, she smiled. Ever since she received an invitation from Unova, the future seemed to be changing unpredictably. Even this strange plushie. She had tried using precognition on the shopkeeper, but his future kept shifting. Occasionally, she encountered people like that, individuals whose fates were constantly changing because of the infinite possibilities they held. How many such people had she met? One from Pallet Town, another from New Bark Town, and now, this one. If I accept the invitation, will my progress as a Pokémon trainer stagnate? Before leaving Saffron Gym, I should appoint a temporary gym leader. There are many psychic-related items in the shop, perhaps they could benefit the other psychic trainers in the gym. I should face the future with a new mindset. Lorelei is no longer an Elite Four member, and Red has gone to MT Silver. Time passes so quickly. Chapter 87. 1000 PS reached. Pallet Town, Professor Oak's laboratory. Professor Oak was studying the various items made by Hikaru, including an ancient statue he had purchased. Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle. This is truly fascinating. While some artificially crafted tools can provide incredible boosts for Pokémon, the fact that handmade items can achieve similar effects is astonishing. Just what era did this mysterious craft originate from? The focus sash, for example, it's clear that it was sewn together using materials from Pokémon and common durable fabric. But does its effect stem from an inherent property of the sash itself, or does it bind with the Pokémon, triggering some latent power within? The other items are equally intriguing. The pickled veggies, a doubled portion can put a Pokémon into a heightened state, increasing both attack and special attack while also boosting some defenses. Is this some kind of specialized food? Regular Pokémon meals don't have this kind of effect. Charcoal, an excellent choice for training fire-type Pokémon. Protective pads, which enhance steel-type energy and prevent contact-based damage, also quite impressive. The King's Rock and the Clear Amulet. This King's Rock is different from the naturally occurring ones found in the wild, and I've never even heard of the Clear Amulet before. Driven by his curiosity and his profession as a researcher, Professor Oak had an urge to purchase all of these items for further study. Even though his primary field of research was the relationship between Pokémon and humans, maintaining a strong curiosity was a fundamental trait of a good professor. Buying these items wasn't just about analyzing their composition. Professor Oak was actually quite knowledgeable about natural items. However, things like evolutionary stones had long been studied and held little mystery for him. These sculptures also have a rather interesting design. As Professor Oak pondered, someone entered his laboratory. Oh! Blue, you're finally here. Take a look at these fascinating tools I just bought. They should be useful for a gym leader like you, right? The person Professor Oak called over had wild brown hair, a pendant around his neck, a dark jacket, and yellow work pants. Fascinating tools? Don't tell me they're just evolutionary stones or something. You called me back just for these. Blue glanced at the statues near the workbench, as well as some strange-looking cloth strips and charms, looking rather puzzled. Grandpa, what exactly are you up to? This whole setup is giving me an unsettling feeling. Blue seemed exasperated, and only then did Professor Oak realize how odd the arrangement looked. He chuckled awkwardly. Ah, my apologies. I didn't consider that putting these items together might create an eerie atmosphere. They don't actually have any particular connection to each other. Anyway, let's not dwell on that. You're always traveling. How are things at the Viridian Gym? It's fine, I guess, Blue shrugged. Most challengers don't have much skill. There's no way they could beat me. I barely even need to give commands. My Pokémon can handle them on their own. Besides, trainers need to collect 7 gym badges before they can challenge me. Not many can manage that. Trainers these days just aren't that strong. Professor Oak laughed. Come on, you were once a champion yourself. Don't be too hard on the rookie trainers. Blue scratched his head, then turned his attention to the various items. So, what exactly do these do? Professor Oak pointed to 3 statues. First, these sculptures of Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. The Charmander statue makes the air noticeably warmer. The Bulbasaur statue promotes plant growth. And the Squirtle statue maintains humidity in the surrounding area. Hey? They just look like ordinary statues to me, Blue said skeptically. Professor Oak remained silent and simply moved the Squirtle statue aside. Almost immediately, Blue noticed a change. The air grew warmer and drier. It actually works. Blue's skepticism deepened. Indeed. These are their effects. But despite appearing ancient, these sculptures are actually modern replicas crafted by an artisan. I only used the statues to introduce you to these other tools. Now, this is the focus sash, Professor Oak said, holding up the orange-red cloth band and explaining its function. Blue's expression turned odd. You're telling me that this sash can keep a Pokémon standing through sheer determination? I've trained so many Pokémon, and sure, sometimes, the bond between a Pokémon and its trainer allows them to push through in a crucial moment, but that's the result of years of careful training. And yet, this sash can do the same thing? That sounds impossible. But it's true. I've tested it myself, Professor Oak replied seriously. It's made from Pokémon materials and crafted with an extraordinary technique. I'm currently researching how it works. And then there's this. Professor Oak introduced Blue to Hikaru's store. What? These items? Blue furrowed his brows, his eyes filled with astonishment. Yes, all of these tools were made by the same artisan who runs this shop. Everything I purchased matches the descriptions on the website perfectly. This craftsman seems to have mastered an unknown technique for creating Pokémon gear. To be honest, I rarely saw trainers using specialized items in battles before now. Professor Oak pondered aloud. Of course, major corporations have long been developing items for Pokémon. They've produced things like zoom lens and scope lens, along with unique Pokeballs and stat-boosting medicines. But all of those rely on technology to enhance their effects, and they're quite expensive. However, if we look at the development of Pokeballs, we can see an important pattern. Before modern Pokeballs existed, trainers used apricorn-made Pokeballs. Likewise, there must be ancient crafting techniques that remain unknown to us. And now, those techniques are finally being rediscovered. Blue carefully examined the focus sash in his hands, contemplating its function. After a long silence, he finally spoke. Grandpa, I'm taking this focus sash with me. Ha! Go ahead, that's why I called you over in the first place. I actually have another one here. Professor Oak pulled out another focus sash from seemingly nowhere. Interesting. Pokémon items, hey? These might have a significant impact on Pokémon training. Blue opened his Pokejar and browsed the store's item descriptions, a smirk forming on his lips. Trainers in the Kanto region were about to have a rough time. If this focus sash really worked as described, just imagine their faces when they thought they had defeated his Pokémon, only for it to endure the hit and keep fighting. The despair on their faces would be priceless. The final gym badge wasn't something a trainer could earn so easily. And even more importantly, if he could get his hands on these items, maybe just maybe he could finally beat Red. Blue, why are you smiling like that? Professor Oak asked, puzzled. Blue chuckled. Oh, nothing. Just thought of something amusing. Grandpa, thanks for calling me over. I can't wait to test this sash out. How about a battle right now? Oh, by the way, have you told Red about this yet? Blue asked while subscribing to Traveler's Workshop, the store selling these items. Professor Oak stroked his chin. No, I haven't. I haven't been able to reach him. Are you planning to? No. Don't tell him yet. Blue's eyes gleamed. And don't tell Leaf either. If there were incredible new tools to be used, he was going to be the first to enjoy them. But before Blue could continue speaking, the laboratory door swung open once more. A woman with yellow hair and dressed in purple robes stepped inside. Blue instantly stiffened. He glanced at Professor Oak, then back at the elderly woman, unsure of what to say. Oh, Oak's grandson? What are you doing here instead of running Viridian Gym? The challengers have been complaining that their gym leader is never around. Don't tell me, you got called here to test out some gadgets. Ah, Granny Agatha, yeah, well, I mean Grandpa did call me back. Blue scratched his head awkwardly, then shot Professor Oak a mischievous grin. Well then, I'll leave you two to talk. I'm heading out now. And with that, Blue bolted from the lab like a fleeing ratata. Agatha turned to look at Professor Oak. It's been a while, Agatha. I didn't expect you to actually accept my invitation, Oak greeted with a smile. Agatha, however, remained indifferent. Humph. You old fool, always cooped up in this place. And you didn't even invite me for a battle. How disappointing. You claim to be all about Pokémon research, and now you're suddenly interested in items. Professor Oak laughed awkwardly. Haha. Well, these are things I've never seen before, so I got curious. Besides, they are closely related to Pokémon research. Agatha sighed. Enough talk. Where's the stuff? Professor Oak quickly pointed at the charms on the table. These. I figured that, as a former member of the Elite Four, you might be able to help me analyze them. Elite Four? I'm not part of them anymore. Quit dragging up old news, Agatha scoffed. You really don't keep up with information, do you, you old coot? Professor Oak scratched his head in embarrassment. Agatha picked up the two charms and examined them briefly. Ha! These? They're just basic spiritual talismans, a purifying charm and a cursed charm. But, the way the spiritual energy is applied. She frowned. This is highly unusual. No, I've never seen anything like it before. Hey? My Jengar is trembling. Agatha sensed an unusual reaction from the pokeball at her waist. Her eyes immediately lit up with intrigue. Perhaps, being called here wasn't such a bad idea after all. But as she continued observing, her expression grew more serious. Hey, old man. I don't recognize the technique used for these charms, but I have a bad feeling about this. The spiritual energy inscribed on them is basic, yet it doesn't seem to follow any known human summoning methods. This is just my speculation, but, the knowledge used in these charms might be related to the spirit world. And that raises an important question: just who exactly created these? Professor Oak smiled. Oh, just a rather unusual craftsman. Here, I'll send you the link to his shop. Chapter 88. So, what the hell is going on? I didn't manage to get any of the charms again. Deep within some ruins in the Paldea region, Rayford looked at her Pokédex with frustration. Displayed on the screen was Hikaru's shop, and once again, the cleanse tag and spell tag were completely sold out. She had barely managed to snag a dozen before they were all gone. Who the hell keeps buying these charms? I finally found a treasure trove of a shop, and now I have to fight off hordes of other buyers for these useful charms. Can't those psychics just make their own? Charms like these should be used properly. People like me, who frequently venture into ruins to claim valuable treasures, constantly face the risk of curses. Tomb raiding is a life-threatening profession. Who else could possibly need these charms more than me? Beside her, Jengar and Zoroark were snickering. They were Rayford's Pokémon, having accompanied her on countless ruin expeditions, but this was the first time they had seen her this frustrated. Jengar. Jengar patted Rayford on the shoulder, as if to say, this happens all the time. Not being able to grab a popular item was just how things worked. Wait, hold on. She did manage to get some. I only got a dozen. That's nowhere near enough. These charms are single-use consumables. Of course, I need to stock up on a few hundred of them. Some ruins are absolutely crawling with curses. Celestic Town. Cynthia held a pure incense in her hands and handed it to an elderly woman, her grandmother, Professor Carolina. Oh my, this does indeed resemble the craftsmanship of ancient charms. The carving style, the way the outer shell and the core form a complete amulet. Could this be the true nature of ancient protective charms? Professor Carolina carefully examined the amulet before looking up at Cynthia. So, you're planning to head to the Johto region for further investigation? Yes, but I need to handle a few matters first. It'll take some time, Cynthia said seriously. And it's not just the Johto region. I ultimately aim to reach Shinto, the forgotten ancient land. It shares remarkable similarities with the ancient Sinnoh. I confirmed this through discussions with Professor Rowan. But before that, I need to conduct research on this amulet. So far, we've discovered that it's made from an unidentified stone and a strange crystal. The amulet emits a constant, faint energy signature, one that closely resembles the ability Clear Body in certain Pokémon. Additionally, the peculiar engravings on the amulet seem to be channeling a mysterious energy. If I do go to Shinto, I'll return as soon as possible. Team Galactic appears to be up to something. Though they haven't made any obvious moves yet, I have a feeling they're plotting something major. Not to mention, the organization itself has always been strange. I came across records in ancient texts there once existed a group also called Team Galactic in the past. I wonder if there's any connection between them and the current organization. Is that so? If you're planning to go, then take this with you, Professor Carolina said, retrieving another amulet. It bore some resemblance to ancient protective charms, but there was something distinctly different about it. This is a safety charm, an artifact passed down from ancient Sinnoh. It was crafted as an offering to a deity, and the materials used include the now rare sky blue jade. In terms of carving techniques, it also shares similarities with this pure incense. If possible, invite the owner of that shop to Celestic Town. Perhaps they can help restore the lost craftsmanship of our ancient protective charms. Cynthia nodded with a smile. Understood, I'll extend the invitation. Professor Carolina suddenly recalled something and added, oh, and one more thing. I saw an item called double pickled vegetables in his shop, but it's sold out. If possible, could you bring some back for me? And if you can get the recipe, even better. Veilstone City, Sinnoh. Oh. Charcoal that burns hotter than Oakwood's charcoal. A special item that enhances fire-type moves? Every fire-type expert is after this. In Veilstone City, a man with a bright red afro and a yellow jacket was staring at Hikaru's shop interface. He was none other than Flint, one of Sinnoh's Elite Four and a fire-type specialist. While he was somewhat interested in items like Shell Bell and Focus Sash, what truly caught his eye was an item called Scorching Charcoal. A tool that boosts fire-type moves, and if carried long-term, even strengthens fire-type Pokémon themselves. This is practically tailor-made for me. Beside him stood Fulner, the gym leader of Sunny Shore City. He had yellow hair, wore a blue jacket, and was both Flint's close friend and a powerful trainer in his own right. Where did you even find this shop? Fulner asked, eyeing Flint skeptically. Flint grinned broadly. I found it myself. I heard that Johto's oak charcoal was famous, so I did some searching on my own. Pretty good find, hey? Don't feel too bad, this shop's owner regularly restocks strange and amazing items. Just look at these glass whistles. I had only ever heard about the Hone region's glass whistles, but those don't have all these unique effects. If my whole team equips this scorching charcoal, I'll finally move up the Elite Four rankings. Maybe I'll even get the chance to challenge Cynthia. Just thinking about it gets me all fired up. Fulner rubbed his chin thoughtfully before quickly clicking the purchase button. These unusual items were definitely worth getting. While Magnet was still the best pure damage booster for electric moves, this lightning glass whistle had two additional effects. Lightning glass whistle, when blown by a trainer or Pokémon, it enhances electrical energy perception, making it easier to train electric-type Pokémon. While in this heightened state, the user is immune to critical hits. Electrical energy. Could this be referring to free electrons in the natural environment? If this whistle helps concentrate and harness electrical power, then it really might surpass the magnet in certain ways. This could be great for training electric Pokémon. Just as Flint dreamed of challenging Cynthia and becoming Sinnoh's new champion, Fulner had his own ambition to take down an Elite Four member and rise in the rankings. Unfortunately, recent challengers had been too weak, leaving him feeling uninspired. But now, with this new equipment, things might get interesting again. But that didn't matter. Recently, a few young challengers had arrived, and with their battles, Fulner had found new motivation. As a gym leader, he had to accept the reality that challengers would have varying levels of skill. He needed to set his sights on greater goals. Galar region, outside Motostoke City, second mine. A slightly graying man was breathing heavily, standing beside a Pokémon with a long, centipede-like body that blazed with flames. He was Kabu, the gym leader of Motostoke City, and the Pokémon at his side was his partner, Centiskorch. Centiskorch, a fire/bug-type Pokémon, had a body segmented into 12 parts, glowing red with a dark brown dorsal side. Flames burned from both ends of its body, and its underbelly housed yellow heating elements. It had 10 pairs of legs that gave it a formidable appearance. Since the second mine was home to many water-type Pokémon, Kabu often trained his team here. However, lately, he had been experiencing too many losses in battles, leading to a shift in his mindset. Despite undergoing intense training, he continued to lose to challengers. While part of it was due to him holding back on purpose, his Pokémon shouldn't have been this weak, even with that consideration. Cool. Beside him, Centiskorch also seemed to be feeling down, which Kabu immediately noticed. He comforted it at once. It's all right, my friend. We will continue to grow stronger. This defeat is only temporary. Next time, we'll work even harder. Cool. Centiskorch nodded firmly. It would keep going, always believing in Kabu. However, after reassuring his Pokémon, Kabu himself felt uncertain. Could it be that his training methods were flawed? Maybe the problem wasn't his Pokémon, but himself? Training Fire-type Pokémon. Holding on to a glimmer of hope, Kabu opened his Pokédex and searched for training resources. Back when he was a trainer in the Hoenn region, he had learned many Fire-type Pokémon training techniques from a Fire-type Elite Four member who had mentored him. Later, in pursuit of becoming stronger, he had left Hoenn and traveled to the distant Galar region for intensive training. Eventually, he became the Motostoke gym leader, but many years had passed since then. Had he grown too old? Were his training methods outdated? Kabu chuckled bitterly as he browsed through Fire-type training items on his Pokédex. Maybe he should start purchasing more charcoal to strengthen his Pokémon. What's this? Scorching charcoal. He had stumbled upon an unusual online shop. The number of products wasn't vast, but the descriptions were strange, so much so that they almost felt unreal. One particular item, scorching charcoal, caught Kabu's attention. Charcoal from oak woods? Right, now that I think about it, the most famous charcoal comes from the Johto region's oak woods. Hoenn's Lava Ridge town also has a well-known charcoal making technique, but due to differences in materials, the effectiveness varies significantly. Boosts the power of Fire-type moves significantly. When held for long periods, it increases the Fire-type energy of Pokémon and enhances their potential. Is Oakwood's charcoal really this powerful? Kabu hesitated and searched for more information about Oakwood's charcoal, but unfortunately, the charcoal shop there didn't offer online purchases, only selling in physical stores. After careful consideration, Kabu placed an order, deciding to test it out. The price was a bit steep, but if it truly had the effects described, it might be exactly what he needed. Johto region, Blackthorn City, Dragon's Den. Deep inside Dragon's Den, a red-haired youth was also browsing through Hikaru's shop on his Pokédex. He had been training alongside his Pokémon when, by chance, he came across this battle equipment shop during a search. After scanning through the inventory, he made a thoughtful decision and purchased the double pickled vegetables. Unova region, Mistralton City, Fashion Street high-rise. Battle Company, 55th floor. A man, dressed like a janitor, was scrolling through his Pokédex. He was no ordinary janitor, he was actually the CEO of Battle Company, known as Jeff. Initially, he had only intended to look up battle-related data to gather public feedback for updating a virtual battle simulator. However, instead, he had stumbled upon something far more interesting. What a fascinating discovery! This online shop's items, what exactly are they? Chapter 89. Shinto Traveler's Workshop. As the sun set, all Pokémon except Regirock had gathered inside the house. Due to its massive body width and the protruding stone pillars on its back, Regirock couldn't fit through the front entrance of the workshop and had to enter through the forge's back door instead. It then settled inside the forge to rest. Meanwhile, Hikaru and the Pokémon worked together to transport stone materials into the supernatural room. The stock of spirit cloth placed here was nearly depleted, and the high-quality cloth ordered online had yet to arrive. Hikaru would have to restock from the village in the meantime. Carefully unwrapping a tightly bundled spirit cloth, he revealed several stacks of blank paper, 2 thin notebooks, ink, and a fountain pen. Over the past few days, wrapped in the spirit cloth, these items had gradually absorbed spiritual energy. Additionally, Hikaru had placed spell tags around the room to enhance its supernatural energy. As a result, from the outside, this fourth room now looked eerie and ominous. Recalling a recent custom order from a Unova client requesting a Chandelure crystal sculpture, Hikaru decided to work on it here. After finishing the stone transport, Hikaru also placed a wooden table inside the room to serve as a workbench. Then, he picked up the stack of spiritual paper only for them to suddenly start flying on their own. There was no one controlling them. It was as if they had become possessed, resembling the haunted locations in games where books would start flying by themselves. Yo! Dowblade let out an excited cry, floating up into the air to join the dancing papers. Was this Sword's Dance? No, wait, its blades hadn't even been drawn. Hikaru sighed in relief and quickly shouted, "Don't cut up the paper." Also, why did it suddenly start dancing? Yoab. Dowblade responded affirmatively, while Lily Gant appeared intrigued by the unexpected dance. Without hesitation, she stepped into the center of the room. Since the room was spacious and mostly empty, she could twirl freely without knocking anything over. Amid the fluttering spiritual papers, Lily Gant performed an elegant dance, while Dowblade spun in the air, seemingly accompanying her. The spectacle left Turwig and Unown utterly mesmerized. Turwig, in particular, gazed in awe. Then, it began fantasizing about itself dancing. Smack! Dream failed. Turwig quickly realized that its sturdy body made dancing look ridiculous. Its expression fell into utter disappointment. I swear I just heard the sound of a dream shattering, Hikaru muttered, noticing Turwig's dejected mood. Nah. Turwig sighed, disheartened. Meanwhile, Unown had a brilliant idea. Perhaps it could use hidden power to help Turwig achieve its fantasy? But after thinking it through, it decided against it. Yeah, that'd be a little too absurd. Instead, Unown joined the floating spiritual papers, spinning in midair alongside Blade, making itself part of the unexpected spectral dance party. Watching the crestfallen Turwig, Hikaru suddenly had an idea. Gant, could you teach Turwig grass knot? Nah. Turwig looked at Hikaru in confusion. Hikaru smiled and explained, grass knot is a move you can learn, and it involves light and nimble footwork to boost your speed. If you master it, your dancing will look much more graceful. The key to dancing isn't speed, it's footwork. Gant elegantly stepped forward, demonstrating precise rhythmic foot movements. The tap-tap of her graceful steps intertwined with her fluid body movements, creating an almost hypnotic visual harmony. At the same time, a stat-boosting aura surrounded her. Grass knot was activating. Nah! Turwig's eyes sparkled like twinkling stars. It was completely enchanted and immediately started mimicking Gant's footwork. Though Turwig had 4 legs, making the movement slightly awkward at times, it quickly found joy in the process. Before long, it was dancing alongside the others, fully immersed in the rhythm. Then, Hikaru suddenly noticed something happening to Blade. A stat-boosting aura surrounded it as well. Blade learned swords dance. Hey! While accompanying Gant's dance, Blade had unknowingly learned swords dance. Even Blade itself seemed surprised. However, it continued spinning even faster, now surrounded by glowing blue swords. Its attack stat had skyrocketed. Finally, under Gant's lead, the impromptu spectral dance party came to a graceful end. The Pokémon gathered around, laughing and chatting excitedly, clearly not ready for the fun to be over. Turwig, after this experience, had grown closer to everyone. It had also mastered a more fluid movement style. At that moment, a notification appeared in Hikaru's mind. Turwig learned grass knot. It actually worked. Learning moves through dance. Gant's teaching method is extremely effective. Instant results. Hikaru mused. Which meant Gant. Gant learned coaching. So that's how it works. Hikaru smiled knowingly. Gant had an innate talent for teaching, which allowed her to learn coaching, a move that boosted the attack and defense stats of all allies through proper and effective guidance. Looks like she'll be Coach Gant from now on. Despite being the one usually teaching Gant in matters of sculpting, it seemed that Blade had somehow ended up learning coaching from being guided instead. Now that Hikaru thought about it, Gant's dancing skills were probably good enough to win prizes in contests or performance tournaments. Hikaru gave it some thought before clapping his hands. Alright. Now that the dance party is over, let's get to work. Since he had knowledge of spiritual energy, Hikaru used his spiritual control to recall all the floating papers back into his hands. If anyone saw him manipulating papers midair, they would be shocked. After all, people with spiritual abilities weren't common. As he pondered this, a system notification appeared in his mind. Rare material, spirit paper. Description: while originally just ordinary paper, it has been infused with an immense amount of supernatural energy, transforming into a unique spirit-infused item. It may sometimes float around randomly, but ultimately, nothing significant will happen. Looking at the floating notebooks, another notification appeared. Crafted item, Spirit Notebook. Description: once an ordinary notebook, now imbued with spiritual energy. Effect: burst of inspiration. While holding this notebook, one may uncontrollably experience creative visions. It could stimulate inspiration, but writing those visions down will slightly drain one's life force. As expected. Anything related to ghost types always drains life force. Hikaru couldn't help but recall when he first obtained Hunch, back when it was still categorized as a crafted item, it, too, had a life-draining effect. Even the fountain pen and ink left in the room had been transformed into spiritual items, their effects causing written words or drawings to create mild illusions or instill fear. That was simply the nature of supernatural artifacts. So that's what that customer meant. Spending too much time with ghost Pokémon had caused their manuscripts to become possessed. No wonder they're a novelist. A spirit-infused notebook that sparks inspiration, hey? The side effects make it unsuitable for most people, though. Hikaru retrieved some dark-colored bookbinding materials. Since these items needed to be shipped safely, he used ordinary materials for the outer book covers. Otherwise, if the books started floating mid-shipment, he could already imagine a delivery Charizard filing a complaint against him. Then, he began binding some of the spirit-infused papers into books. There were many binding styles, but Hikaru chose a hardcover design using cardboard, fabric, and leather for reinforcement. The spine was squared, making it suitable for books up to 20 mm thick. A new system notification appeared. Crafted item, Square Spine Spirit Tome, Hardcover Edition. Description: a spirit-infused tome capable of recording anything. Through precise bookbinding techniques, the nature of the spirit paper has been altered, granting it unique properties. Special effect: Soul Affinity, writing or drawing the name or image of a ghost-type Pokémon increases friendship with that Pokémon. The holder becomes more attuned to ghostly energy, making it easier to remain calm in eerie environments. For those with weak constitutions or susceptible to ghostly influences, holding this tome can improve their spiritual and physical well-being. A book that benefits both spirit-sensitive people and those affected by ghosts. Hikaru placed the freshly bound spirit tome on the workbench. Immediately, Blade was the first to float over, drawn to the tome's gentle and soothing spiritual energy. Unlike the usual restless and eerie ghostly energy, the power emanating from this book felt serene and stable. This is the power of books, refining the heart and soul. Hikaru murmured, then suddenly realized perhaps the tome's ability to calm spirits stemmed from its idealistic nature. After all, the Pokémon world was full of phenomena driven by belief. Changing the form of an object could alter how its power flowed, producing entirely new effects. Well, at least I didn't accidentally create something like a Death Note. Hikaru chuckled to himself, then turned his focus to his next task: sculpting the Chandelure crystal statue. Yoo-yoo. Blade's blades gleamed. It was ready. Yoo-yoo. Now that it had just learned Swords Dance, it wanted to combine Swords Dance with Psycho Cut to see if it could enhance carving precision and efficiency. Seeing its enthusiasm, Hikaru glanced at the stone slabs. There were plenty of extra materials. If you want to give it a shot, then go ahead. Blade, use Swords Dance, then carefully execute Psycho Cut to carve this design. Hikaru showed it a reference image of Chandelure. After staring at the picture for a moment, Blade froze. Then, it suddenly spoke up in exasperation. Wait a second, Chandelure is a ghost type too. But it also looks like a household item. That means it's my kind of doppelganger. Chapter 90. How is that possible? You're not a household item. Ew, but 1,000 years ago, I was a household item. Hikaru couldn't refute that. 1,000 years ago, people indeed carried weapons with them at all times. Blade let out a joyful sound, humming a work tune. Hikaru had no idea where it had picked up such a melody. At that moment, Blade first performed Swords Dance, and then its eyes glowed with psychic energy. Countless strands of psychic threads began to materialize, spreading out like a web around the stone materials. Blade manipulated these sharp psychic threads to efficiently cut and shape the stone. It had already practiced well when cutting fabric last time. Even when Hikaru wasn't watching, it would practice its Psycho Cut, trying to refine its psychic abilities. There was actually a simple method to enhance psychic power: meditation. However, Blade's form couldn't learn the move Calm Mind. But perhaps, through long-term work, it could eventually learn the move? Blade had once entertained this fantasy. Under Blade's control, the stone was quickly being sculpted into the shape of a Pokémon. Watching this process, Hikaru was reminded of laser cutting. Maybe if Psycho Cut was refined well enough, it could even achieve laser engraving in the future? Psychic abilities were truly convenient. Hikaru had thought this more than once. Blade's eyes gradually dimmed as its psychic energy waned. The threads formed by Psycho Cut could no longer maintain their solid form, rapidly diminishing before vanishing completely. This was the most precise level of control it could manage with its psychic power for now. You did an amazing job. I'm not just saying that. I'll take it from here. Hikaru picked up the carving tools just as Lilligant's gaze fell upon him. She had wanted to learn carving for a while, but her attempts using Leaf Blade had resulted in rough, unrefined sculptures. And she couldn't use Blade's Psycho Cut technique either. So, Lily Gant watched Hikaru's carving process intently. She might not be able to learn it completely, but at least she could pick up some skills. Oh? You want to learn my carving technique? Feel free to watch. Hikaru noticed Lilligant's focused gaze and deliberately slowed his carving speed. Bit by bit, the shape of a Pokémon gradually emerged from the sculpture, radiating an ancient aura. Finally, embedding an ancient rock into the sculpture completed the piece. The gemstone was placed in the eye sockets, resembling Chandelure's two round, yellow eyes. Artifact, small ancient statue Shinto ruins style. Description, a replica styled after ancient craftsmanship. The figure is that of Chandelure. Effect, spirit lantern. When infused with ghost-type energy, it ignites a will-o-wisp, providing illumination while enhancing the activity of surrounding ghost-type energy and spirits. Who would use will-o-wisp for lighting? And from a ghost-type Pokémon, no less. So, it really is a lamp. Just a rather eerie one. Infusing ghost-type energy to ignite it, isn't that basically absorbing and burning souls? At least it can be manually turned on and off. Otherwise, this would be way too dangerous to sell as a regular product. Hikaru opened his Pokejar and sent a message to his client in Unova. The eerie books, notebooks, and sculpture are all completed. After sending the message, Hikaru had another thought. He opened one of his chat accounts and once again found the Create Business Group option. His last group was full of psychic-type specialists. Aside from those precognitive obsessed folks, without a doubt, the next most well-informed group of clients would be the spiritualists. Morty had been helping him advertise his products while also seemingly acting as a large-scale buyer, purchasing many talismans himself. Many spiritualists have a high demand for talismans. Since that's the case, I might as well create another business group and invite all my clients interested in ghost-type items. Hikaru quickly recommended the group to his Unown client, who seemed surprised. The shopkeeper finished so quickly. Also, what's this group about? This is a business group. Since there are many buyers of ghost-type items, I added you all here. That way, when I have new ghost-related products, you can reserve them in advance. Honestly, I didn't expect ghost-type items to be my best-selling products. Hikaru invited several frequent buyers of ghost-type goods, including Morty, an ancient explorer, as well as a client in Hone, who seemed to be Phoebe. This client didn't appear to be online often, and their username was Wandering Night Spirit. In addition, several new customers, recommended by Matsuba, were also invited. Hikaru believed that the more customers, the better. Clairvoyant, oh. With this group, I can immediately know when new ghost-type products are available. The talismans I bought last time are still working great. Ancient Explorer, so you're the one who bought all the talismans. Using the word procurement, are you bulk buying them like wholesale goods? Soul Novelist, no wonder the items were out of stock. Leave some for the rest of us. Clairvoyant, ah. I didn't expect my bulk purchases to cause trouble for everyone. Next time, I'll buy fewer. But more importantly, the shopkeeper should make more. Oh, and I'll send you some ghost-type Pokémon materials. I've confirmed with my unique spiritual sense that you have a ghost Pokémon, right? Traveler, oh, thank you. And thanks for recommending my shop to other spiritualists. But honestly, your ability feels a lot like precognition. Clairvoyant, well, spiritual power is just another form of psychic power, after all. Ancient Explorer, humph, so you're using that method to secure first dibs? Well, I have even better items, a collection of cursed antiques tainted with ominous and terrifying curses, overflowing with ghost energy. Shopkeeper, are you interested in buying them? Traveler, that sounds like a straight-up hazardous item. But now that you mention it, I'm kind of interested. Ancient Explorer, dangerous antiques are the most intriguing, don't you think? Also, speaking of recommendations, I won't lose. You remember that bourgeois guy who bought from you? I casually mentioned your craftsmanship to him, and he was instantly fascinated. So, Mr. Bourgeois was introduced by Ancient Explorer. Hikaru had just uncovered the source of yet another client. Wandering Night Spirit, trainers from MT Pyre, paranormal enthusiasts, and even spirits love your talismans. But, my internet connection here is terrible. MT Pyre is quite a remote place. Soul Novelist, wait, did you say spirits? Wandering Night Spirit, yes, after purchasing your talismans recently, many wandering spirits have gathered around MT Pyre. Thanks to the shopkeeper's purification talisman, they have been able to pass on. The spirits spread the word to one another, which is why they've gathered here. Your talismans function very similarly to the spirit realm cloth. Soul novelist, whoa, whoa. This sounds just like something out of a novel. Are you saying you can actually see spirits? Clairvoyant, not just communing with spirits but actually seeing them? A natural-born medium? An MT Pyre, could it be that you're Phoebe, the Hone Elite 4 member? This is the first time I've seen you with this account. Wandering Night Spirit, hee, well, even the League needs communication channels when summoning its members. You must be Morty, from Ecruteak City. I've heard a lot about you. Ancient Explorer, Hone's Elite 4? Someone with strong spiritual powers, sounds like you'd be useful for dispelling curses and vengeful spirits from antiques. It seemed that a powerful medium naturally attracted attention. Once Morty exposed Phoebe's identity, the group chat suddenly became lively with people chiming in. Some even used their profession as their username: prayer masters, shamans, spirit mediums, and exorcists, all excitedly bombarding Wandering Night Spirit with questions about her training methods. Hikaru couldn't help but think that his business group had turned into a paranormal study forum. Then, a user with the ID Prayer Master Mukai, official, spoke up. I've heard the shopkeeper is also a natural-born medium. How do you train your abilities? Is it because of your strong spiritual energy that you are able to craft such unique talismans? Your spirit power seems different from others. Prayer Master Mukai. Hikaru found the name somewhat familiar. Prayer Masters were rare among trainers, and this one had a distinct name, so he had remembered it. If he recalled correctly, Mukai was a female trainer from Saffron City Gym in Kanto. Wait, why would a ghost-type trainer be working at a psychic-type gym? Hikaru thought for a moment before replying. I died once. Or rather, I had a near-death experience. The place I live in now also has a haunted room. Maybe that's why my spiritual energy is unique. And that was the truth. He had, in fact, died once. Well, if he counted both his past and present selves, that would make it twice, actually. His response sent shockwaves through the group. Prayer Master Mukai, I've heard of people gaining spirit world powers after a near-death experience, but, are you saying that's how you got yours? 3 exclamation marks emphasized her shock. Soon, other mediums flooded the chat with messages exclamations of resurrected from death, unrepeatable phenomenon, living with ghosts, I want to try it, would that count as suicide, and a new urban legend about mysterious deaths. Hikaru started sweating nervously. If Officer Jenny or Interpol saw this conversation, they might think it was some kind of murder cult discussion group. Wandering Night Spirit, so you should be able to see spirits as well. Your soul must be incredibly strong if even the spirit world couldn't take you. If you ever visit Hone, please come to MT Pyre. I'd love to witness your unique spiritual power firsthand. Soul Novelist, hold on, wasn't this supposed to be a business group? Why is it turning into a paranormal studies forum? Finally, someone had steered the conversation back on track, and Hikaru felt relieved. Traveler, if any of you have ghost-type Pokémon materials, feel free to send them to me. I'll craft them into special products. For example, my newest item, the Fear Glass Whistle, is excellent for training ghost-type Pokémon. I'll offer a discount on these since you're supplying the materials, just a small processing fee. I'll be adding more unique items in the future, so stay tuned. At Soul Novelist, regarding the eerie notebook you requested, I've also made a special paranormal journal. If you'd like me to illustrate it with spirit-infused craftsmanship, the effect is, well, let's just say it might be unsettling for the reader. Soul Novelist, whoa. That sounds like the perfect prop for me. And it can create ghostly hallucinations? My current notebook doesn't have that feature. Meanwhile, in Unova, Chantal was no longer at Caitlin's villa after all. That massive Snorlax statue had completely smothered her creative inspiration. Seeing Hikaru's message, she excitedly tossed her old notebook into the air. A novel that could immerse readers in ghostly hallucinations? This was a revolutionary breakthrough in the literary world. Chapter 91. On July 4th, the weather was clear. Hikaru woke up early, grabbed his tools, and headed to the open area outside. Regirock stood there, staring blankly at the wildflowers by the roadside. It remained motionless until Hikaru appeared, at which point it happily made a sound and raised its arm. Was it greeting him? Its voice was distinctly mechanical, yet this time, it clearly expressed joy. Was it happy because it could help humans again? Or was it because it had found a new friend? Hikaru wasn't sure, nor did he particularly care. The bond between him and his Pokémon would develop over time. Even with all his knowledge, emotions couldn't be nurtured overnight. Lily Gant tended to the berries, and when she looked up and saw a green berry, she excitedly ran over to inform Hikaru. The mickle berries had ripened. Oh, I can make a rare candy now. Hikaru picked the mickle berries, and perhaps due to the knowledge he had gained about berries, these ones had grown exceptionally large and plump, with quite a generous yield. Before Daigo arrived, Hikaru decided to prepare the rare candy. But before that, he had Regirock help transport some stones, assigned Lily Gant to continue tending to the herbs, sent Blade to collect firewood, and then returned to his house to turn on the computer. As expected, the ancient bracelets had sold well. Other items like charcoal, focus sash, cleanse tag, spell tag, old wooden sculpture, twice pickled vegetables, and glass whistle had also received a decent number of orders. The sheer number of customer IDs made Hikaru's eyes blur. Burning passion, lightning expert, riddle master. Fiery enthusiasm, endless flames, heart of fear. A lot of them seemed to be fire-type trainers, hey? It looked like his charcoal was a particularly successful product, attracting many trainers skilled in fire-type moves. Some customers even left unique messages and emails. The Awakened. Did you know? The move Hidden Power can actually be discovered through meditation. In other words, everyone has the potential to possess hidden power. I awakened mine at the Lake of Rage through meditation, and now, I'm sharing this with you. Your product is incredibly useful to me. I foresaw this through future sight, so I've already purchased it. Consider this my advance gratitude, just accept it. Comprehension and application of hidden power.pdf. Hikaru was stunned. After downloading the file, he realized it was an actual guide on how to train psychic abilities. No, it wasn't just about psychic abilities. The first step was to grasp the corresponding mental energy through meditation, and only then could one begin learning hidden power. Hikaru recalled something. At the Lake of Rage in the Johto region, there was a strange, chubby man who could be found in the upper left corner of the lake during high tide by using surf. He would give out the trademark for hidden power and tell the player that this power could be unlocked through meditation. Yes, hidden power was actually a move humans could use. Like aura or psychic powers, it wasn't exclusive to Pokémon, humans could learn it as well. However, across the entire Pokémon game series, that one chubby man was the only person who had ever demonstrated mastering hidden power through meditation. This awakened person is incredibly generous. I haven't even shipped his order yet. Hikaru muttered, feeling increasingly numb to how often psychics casually used future sight in daily life. He added the person as a friend, intending to invite them into the doll collectors group, only to realize they were already in it. Seriously? Just like that psychic girl? Or had someone else invited him in? Hikaru checked the group's total members one more than before. Even though he hadn't sent an invite, these people had somehow found the group number and joined through unknown means. Psychic powers sure were convenient. A new ID caught his eye: meaning of existence. Just from the name alone, it seemed like this person had some kind of psychological burden. Hikaru messaged him. You also want a Calyrex plushie? Another case of future sight. After a brief silence, the other person replied with a simple However, within the group chat, the other psychics seemed curious about these two newcomers. Unsurprisingly, the habitual abuser of future sight, Elite 4 Grimsley, was the first to speak up. At meaning of existence. I sense that your psychic abilities are extremely powerful. The future is difficult to foresee when it comes to you. Your strength far surpasses mine. How exactly did you train? Meaning of existence. Don't use future sight to pry into others. That's a terrible habit. My psychic abilities are innate. Unless necessary, I don't plan on interacting with you all much. Please understand. Grimsley. No, sorry, I didn't directly pry. Caitlin. Ha, this is troublesome. Grimsley, you really should try to curb your habit of overusing future sight every once in a while. Grimsley. I just suddenly had a strange feeling. Meaning of existence. It's probably because my presence unsettled you. The internet can transmit not just spiritual energy but also psychic power. Since you're actively training future sight, you instinctively sought me out. In reality, the problem lies with me. Now that you understand this, the misunderstanding should be resolved. But as I said before, unless absolutely necessary, I'd rather not interact with you all. Caitlin. So even among psychics, there are people like you. It's fine. This is just a shopping group, after all. Everyone is here just to buy things. The Awakened. Hoo. For psychics, meditation is far more important than chatting in groups. Today, I shall meditate once more. Hoo. Psychic girl. I understand your feelings. I also used to dislike social interactions, but some things in life can't be avoided. If you ever have any mental struggles, you can talk to me. Meaning of existence. Thank you for your kindness. Let's end today's conversation here. The conversation between the psychics wrapped up quickly. However, there was still one non-psychic in the group. Ice Doll. Why are there so many psychics in this group? Isn't this supposed to be a plushie collection group? At this moment, Hikaru completely agreed with that sentiment. The second message he received was from Dragon's Messenger. Dragon's Messenger. Thank you so much for the focus sash last time. I apologize for not sending a message sooner. I was too focused on my training. It wasn't until my focus sash wore out that I remembered I hadn't left a review. As expected, my bond with my Pokémon is unbreakable. Your item not only reinforced that realization but also helped me defeat one of the most important rivals in my life. Your items are truly useful, so I plan to recommend them to other Dragon-type trainers. It's only right for a loyal customer like me to help others overcome their struggles with ice types. One more thing, I'm not sure if you have any Dragon-type Pokémon, but extra knowledge never hurts. If you ever catch one in the future, this will be useful. Take it as a token of my gratitude. I've finally broken through my mental barriers and can now climb to even greater heights. Raising and Training Dragon-type Pokémon.pdf. Hikaru knew that Dragon's Messenger was none other than Lance. But in his message, who exactly had he defeated? A lifelong rival, could it be Lorelei? This is useful too. Knowledge is something you can never have too much of, though, honestly, no one has the time to master everything. But I do have professional knowledge on dragon tamers. Oh, right. Sends a message. Do you have any dragon-type materials? I'd like to purchase some from you. Lance quickly replied. Dragon's Messenger. When it comes to dragon-type materials, the best ones are scales, fangs, claws, hides, and whiskers. But, they're incredibly rare. Alright, since you asked, it would be too distant to talk about purchasing. You've helped me a lot, I'll send you some good stuff. Also, please keep developing items that can enhance dragon Pokémon, especially those that help against ice types. Ice types weren't the only problem, fairy types were also a major issue. But then again, neither Kanto nor Johto had fairy-type trainers. The rest of my packages have also arrived in Blackthorn City and should be shipped out soon. The next message came from an old customer, Ancient Explorer. Unlike before, this time, she didn't send a message in the Ghost-type trainer group but rather sent a private email. I'll let you in on a little secret. Paldea has some mysterious legends, and since you're a craftsman, how about taking a trip here sometime? I might have found something valuable. Oh, and this document is quite interesting, you should take a look. It supposedly leads to mysterious treasures. If you're interested, let me know. The Fall of the Paldean Empire.pdf. Treasures of the Paldean Empire? The Treasures of Ruin, perhaps? Hikaru downloaded the file and read through it carefully. Sure enough, it detailed the legends of the Treasures of Ruin, Paldea's 4 ruinous legendary Pokémon. Qianpao, the Sword of Ruin. Ting Lu, the Vessel of Ruin. Woqian, the Tablets of Ruin. Qiyu, the Beads of Ruin. During the ancient Paldean Empire, a merchant brought 4 artifacts from the Far East: a vessel, tablets, a sword, and beads, and sold them to the Paldean king. That very night, the treasures transformed into Pokémon and wreaked havoc, destroying the royal city. It turned out that the artifacts had absorbed countless desires and curses, and once they fell into the king's hands, his overwhelming greed immediately awakened them. In the end, the king summoned a Pokémon trainer to subdue the 4 Pokémon, sealing them within 4 shrines using a total of 32 sacred stakes, 8 for each. Only those free of worldly desires could break the seals. Before a certain tomb-raiding lady unearthed these records, the Treasures of Ruin had been mostly unknown. Hikaru now had a pretty good guess about Ancient Explorer's true identity. This level of hinting is way too obvious. Rafe Fort. Hikaru muttered to himself. But still, those vessel, tablets, sword, and beads for a craftsman like him, these artifacts were extremely appealing. Just as the Regi trio were treasures to sculptors, these artifacts were practically irresistible to a craftsman. And then there were the sacred stakes used to seal legendary Pokémon, those were fascinating in their own right. This one came from a new customer. World Without Heart. Does your King's Rock really make Pokémon obey? Not obey. It's about recognition. Hikaru corrected him while analyzing this suspicious username, adding the person as a friend. World Without Heart. Regardless of the wording, the outcome is the same. These meaningless disputes over terminology only make the world worse. Let me ask you, have you heard of the red chain? Hikaru. All right. No need for further analysis. This guy was Cyrus. The red chain could be made in two ways. Using the power of the Lake Guardians combined with a meteorite. The traditional method, where special tools granted by the Lake Guardians could be forged into a red chain. And the sole purpose of this item? To bind Dialga and Palkia. No, I don't know about such an item. Apologies. Is there anything else you'd like to purchase? Hikaru responded. World Without Heart. I see. If you ever discover a power strongly tied to the legends of Sinnoh, I hope you'll inform me. That power is necessary for creating a new world. You might not take my words seriously, but gathering information isn't something I expect for free. If you're a craftsman, then this document should be of use to you. Consider it a fair exchange. The Deconstruction and Assembly of Machinery.pdf. This document covers the structure and assembly of various modern technological devices, including EXP, shares, power amplifiers, and more. These aren't particularly complex designs. If my technology interests you, the Galactic Foundation welcomes you. You might want to think about it. I'll purchase your King's Rock. As for the rest, I'll take one wooden sculpture for now. Rotom, you're aware of this Pokémon, right? Of course, Hikaru replied. Do you have one? My wooden sculpture can be customized for it. World Without Heart. No, I don't own a Rotom. I just need a simple sculpture. Hikaru responded. I see. So you two were separated. But don't worry, my friend, life will always bring different souls together, and new possibilities will be born. One day, you'll meet that Pokémon again. Cyrus remained silent for a long time. Just as Hikaru was about to move on to processing other orders, a new message popped up. World Without Heart. Thank you, Unknown Craftsman. Chapter 92. Unknown, Craftsman. Hikaru scratched his head. Why was Cyrus so good at rubbing salt into wounds? Why was he always so blunt? A world without spirit? Please. It was just because he was obsessed with machinery to the point where his emotional intelligence was practically non-existent. He had no social skills, so he figured the best solution was to destroy the world. For a moment, Hikaru didn't know how to respond. He typed several messages, only to delete them all in the end. Eventually, he just sent a simple, "You're welcome." Whatever. At least Cyrus had sent over a mechanical manual that was good stuff. After all, the highest level of craftsmanship was building machines with one's bare hands. In the Pokémon world, there weren't many who could do that. The only ones Hikaru could think of were Cyrus and Calyrex. Well, if Pokémon counted, then Mewtwo from the movies seemed to have a knack for creating strange devices out of thin air. Though, whether the technology on that island was built by Mewtwo or just leftover Team Rocket equipment was unclear. As for his own abilities, Hikaru was following 6 different crafting paths from an old game, with mechanical crafting being the last to unlock. It required a vast amount of knowledge because precision machinery relied on an immense foundation of theoretical learning. So during his inactive period, Cyrus must have been collecting and studying various machines. Was it all in preparation for the Red Chain? If so, then many of Team Galactic's devices were probably built by Cyrus himself. Cyrus had always been fascinated by machinery. In the games, an old woman in Sunny Shore City would talk about how Cyrus was a brilliant student who loved tinkering with machines as a child. And in the Battle Frontier, his grandfather found in a small house in the desert mentioned that he had placed too many expectations on Cyrus, leading him down the wrong path and neglecting his emotional growth. During this time, the only thing that brought Cyrus any comfort was the Rotom that suddenly appeared from within a machine. In Rotom's room, there was a journal detailing Rotom's forms and another logbook recording the moment Cyrus first met Rotom. If Cyrus still had any attachments to the world, it wasn't to his parents or his grandfather. It was to Rotom. This is another form of bond between Pokémon and humans, in its own strange way. Hikaru sighed. Across the games, anime, and Pokémon special manga, only the manga version of Cyrus got a happy ending, where he finally understood the concept of heart. In the games and anime, one disappeared into the distortion world, presumably never to return. The other was obliterated along with his new world by Dialga and Palkia. What is a heart? The combination of emotions, will, and knowledge. That is the essence of the human spirit. After bidding farewell to his peculiar customer, Hikaru moved on to his next order, this one from a user named Obsidian Miner. A request from Obsidian Miner. Obsidian Miner. I saw that your shop sells something called destruction gloves. They supposedly allow high-efficiency excavation and can even use Pokémon moves? Could you tell me the price and production time for a custom order? Oh? A custom tool request? Obsidian Miner. Was he a worker from Orbug Mine in Sinnoh? Hikaru quoted a price and immediately began pitching the product's benefits, explaining how destruction gloves could be invaluable for exploring the wilderness or dealing with emergencies in caves. Obsidian Miner. Sounds great. I'll place an order right now. This will really help. Help? Hikaru was a little puzzled. But thinking about it, maybe it was for dealing with large rocks or other obstacles in the mines. If you need to break stones, would you be interested in a sculpture that enhances destructive power? Hikaru proactively upsold. Previously, he had carved a Hydreigon statue for Calyrex, and it increased efficiency in destruction-based tasks. If he shrunk the design, it would be even more portable. Obsidian Miner. Ah. No, it's not about breaking things. The miner seemed a little embarrassed. I'm actually buying these gloves to increase my digging speed. I use excavation as a form of training. I have a dream, you see. I've been refining my digging skills in the coal mines, and in the future, I want to create a vast underground tunnel network, one that connects different places all over the world, just like the underground in Sinnoh. I also want to collect tons of fossils and establish a fossil museum. And that museum will be located in the underground city that I'll dig out myself. Wait. If this guy dug tunnels everywhere, wouldn't the foundations of buildings collapse? Hikaru had always wanted to complain about Sinnoh's underground. The entire region was practically hollow underneath. How did no one ever worry about their houses sinking into the ground? And in the Diamond and Pearl remakes, there were even more massive caverns added underground. Sinnoh's entire subsoil structure was a disaster waiting to happen. Do you need any other excavation tools? I can make custom ones, Hikaru asked, taking the chance to sell more. Obsidian Miner. You do custom tools? That's awesome. I saw that option on your page, but I was so focused on the destruction gloves that I didn't look further. If you can custom make more efficient excavation tools, I'd love that. I'll order an exploration kit then. Oh sorry, you might not be familiar with the term. An exploration kit includes a hammer, pickaxe, shovel, and safety helmet. No problem. The estimated delivery time will be 1 to 2 weeks, Hikaru responded. He deliberately extended the timeline. There were too many orders coming in, and he didn't want to burn himself out. Sure, gaining knowledge through work was exciting, but constant high-intensity labor wasn't sustainable. The next message came from Verdant Brilliance, a contact that Hikaru didn't even remember adding. Wait. This name seemed familiar? After a moment, Hikaru realized this was Gardenia's ID. Back in Eterna City, the original shop owner had worked on a custom gym statue for her, so they were pretty familiar. Gardenia was the Eterna gym leader, an expert in grass-type Pokémon, with short orange hair styled in a bob. Verdant Brilliance. Hey! How've you been? How's life in Johto? I saw your online shop. It looks like your sales are doing great. Are you adjusting well to the new region? More importantly, how's your mental health? Since their ages were similar, the original owner had gotten along well with Gardenia. She was practically a long-time customer. Hikaru replied. I'm doing all right. The workshop is stabilizing, and living far from the city has helped me find some peace. Mental health recovery takes time. I'll probably be in Johto for a few more months. Technically, I'm not even in a city. I'm in a small village deep in the mountains. Verdant Brilliance. I see. Well, I hope you recover soon. By the way, I saw that you do custom tools now. Does that mean you've learned some forging techniques? Yep. Did you want something custom? Hikaru asked. Verdant brilliance. Grass-type tools? A watering can, gardening shears, a shovel? A hoe? A cultivator? There are too many choices. Hikaru chuckled. You have a lot of trees in your gym. A garden tool set would be perfect. How about a full custom order? Hikaru began his sales pitch. If you buy the full set, I'll give you a 20% discount. The total price will be somewhere between 100,000 to 200,000 poke dollars. These tools all come with special abilities. Verdant brilliance. Really? Then I'll take the whole set. Since you're pushing it so hard, I can tell you've mastered some incredible forging techniques. That's great. If your business keeps growing, your mood will improve too, right? Oh, and I also want to buy a grassy glass whistle and a focus sash. Alright then. Hope everything goes well for you in Johto. Gardenia completed her purchase for the custom tool set, along with a grassy glass whistle and a focus sash. Hikaru marked her order as a gardening tool kit. Just as he was about to process it, another message arrived. A mysterious message from Heart of Fear. Heart of Fear. Kid, your spiritual knowledge is quite unusual. I've carefully studied your charms. Are you connected to the spirit world in some way? You're not a ghost yourself, are you? Dealing with strange customers required patience and politeness. Once you got to know some of them, they often turned out to be interesting people. Hikaru recalled that someone had once said the same thing in the merchant group chat, that his spiritual energy might be tied to the spirit world. But, he still didn't really understand it himself. Did the basic spiritual knowledge he had learned actually contain fundamentals of spirit world communication? Maybe it's because I once had a near-death experience. That was the only explanation Hikaru could give. Heart of Fear. Oh? A near-death experience, hey? That doesn't sound like a lie. When you say near-death, do you mean you were literally dead? Your body had already perished, and your soul had entered the spirit world. Did you know that some people gain mystical spirit-related powers after coming back from the brink of death? It's believed that those who cross the barrier of the spirit world might receive a gift from it. That might explain why your spiritual abilities are so unique. I've always thought that true ghost-type experts are those who have experienced death firsthand. Even I don't fully qualify. But not everyone who dies gets the spirit world's blessing. Some just die for real. Here, take this. It might be useful to you. The nature of ghost Pokémon and souls.pdf. I sensed the aura of a ghost-type Pokémon from your charms. Perhaps it was a ghost Pokémon that saved your life. You should be grateful to it. Sometimes, the bonds of the soul are invisible, but they are real. This document contains some of my personal insights on training ghost Pokémon, as well as information on soul cultivation. It's nothing extravagant, just some knowledge I've gathered over the years. Hikaru was stunned. Such valuable information just given away for free. He checked the author of the document. Agatha. The former Elite Four of Kanto. So it was Agatha. No wonder the tone sounded so weird. That old lady has always been like this. Speaking of Agatha, Hikaru couldn't help but think of Professor Oak. Agatha wasn't part of the Elite Four anymore. Where was she living now? Regardless, Hikaru sincerely appreciated the gift. Thank you. Heart of Fear. No need to thank me. I'll be keeping an eye on your ghost-type items in the future. And you should properly train your ghost Pokémon. If you're up for it, consider switching careers and becoming a battler. A craftsman is such a waste of your potential. Hikaru knew that Agatha was obsessed with battling, so he didn't know how to respond. Then an idea struck him. Oh. Right. How about I add you to the group chat? This is my merchant group. It's full of ghost-type specialists from different regions. Heart of Fear. A group chat? Sounds interesting. There must be quite a few strong trainers in there, right? Hikaru sent the invite. Heart of Fear has joined the group chat. Chapter 93. Although older folks generally don't like hanging out with the younger crowd, Agatha, who is so enthusiastic about battles, is more than happy to exchange combat insights with them. After all, one of her mottos is, a trainer is only valuable when they battle. Right after Hikaru pulled Agatha into the merchants group chat, he saw that the group was in the middle of discussing training methods and tactics for Ghost-type Pokémon. Agatha immediately jumped into the conversation, greeting the regulars in the group. Ho ho, there really are quite a lot of interesting youngsters here. Musebu, you're here too. You're still at the Saffron Gym? I told you before, even though you trained your Haunter to resist psychic attacks, the essence of Ghost-type Pokémon is to strike through the opponent's defenses. Don't keep clinging to that poison secondary typing. Focus on Ghost's true nature. While Ghost-type doesn't have an amazing type advantage chart, it's also rarely resisted or nullified, which means it has good offensive potential. You don't have to worry about who you can or can't counter. As long as you're not resisted or outright immune, you're good. Prayer Master Musebu, OC, this ID and the way you talk. Could you be Grandma Agatha? With that one sentence, Musebu immediately attracted the attention of the others who had been discussing Ghost-type Pokémon training and spiritual power cultivation. Clairvoyance, is this Agatha from the Kanto Elite Four? Heart of Fear, I'm no longer an Elite Four. You must be Morty, right? Among Ghost-type trainers, I had high hopes for you. But you haven't dedicated enough energy to your Ghost Pokémon. Quite a pity. Clairvoyance, not at all. I'm humbled that you think so highly of me. Honestly, I'm still far from Elite Four level. Heart of Fear, humph, no need to be so modest. Out of all the people I know, your Ghost Pokémon training is the best. Way better than that useless girl Musebu. Prayer Master Musebu, that's so hurtful. Morty is a famous gym leader in the Johto region, okay? Meanwhile, I'm just a part-timer at Saffron Gym, so there's no comparison at all. I've been working hard lately. Saffron Gym is planning to select an acting gym leader, and I'm preparing for the test right now. If I can use Ghost Pokémon to pass the Psychic-type Gym's acting leader exam, then I can count as a representative Ghost-type specialist in the Kanto region, right? The one who goes by Prayer Master Musebu, the part-timer at Saffron Gym, keeps sending messages. At Traveler, that's you, Hikaru, is there any recommended item from your shop? I'm using Haunter and Gengar. I really want to win this battle. Hikaru paused for a moment. The acting gym leader exam at Saffron Gym. You're a Ghost-type trainer going for a Psychic-type gym exam? Ancient researcher, Ghost-type Pokémon do have an advantage over Psychic types, though Haunter's poison typing is still weak to Psychic. But since it's just an exam, maybe it won't be too hard. Prayer Master Musebu, no, the examiner is Sabrina, our gym leader. She's really strong. Every time I challenged her, I lost miserably. Even though it's technically a test, she won't hold back. The test can be either single battle or double battle. I'm struggling to decide which format. But I guess single might be better. If I can't even handle one-on-one, doubling it to two-on-two will only make me lose even worse. Faced with Musebu's request, Hikaru thought for a bit. The gap between a part-time gym staffer and a gym leader can be huge. Sometimes, even if you have a type advantage, you might get one-shot by the opponent. That's the difference in the level of training. From an item perspective, Focus Sash, Life Orb, and Eviolite are all good. But the latter two can be hard to obtain, and Haunter's endurance is too frail, so Focus Sash is the best option. Haunter can be played in many ways. You could even give it a choice scarf for a Purify and Poison Gas combo to stop the opponent from setting up while annoying them, or go with Will-O-Wisp and Trick to lock their moves. But I haven't made any choice items yet. Maybe once I get higher quality cloth materials, I can work on them. As for Gengar, there's even less to say about its strength, its options are endless. Mumbling to himself, Hikaru quickly replied to Musebu. No, go for double battle. How about trying a Parish song strategy? When there's a huge power gap, avoiding a head-on fight is another way to win. Sure, it might be a bit of a trick, but a win's a win. Item-wise, you can use a Focus Sash to keep from getting one-shot. Parish Song uses a strange melody to steadily sap the opponent's fighting spirit. In the games, any Pokémon that hears it faints after 3 turns. In reality, it means they lose their ability to fight after a certain time. In the Pokémon world, trainers love all-out brawls. Moves like Parish Song are rarely used. Even if someone does think of it, they're typically at least gym leader level. Obviously, Mujiang, a mere part-timer, has never paid any attention to moves like Parish Song. Hey? What's that? Musebu was confused, prompting Hikaru to shake his head. Another trainer who just loves all-out force. Parish Song causes any Pokémon that hears it to lose their ability to fight after a set time. If you do single battles, you can pair it with Mean Look to prevent the opponent from switching out, forcing them to watch their own Pokémon go down. In double battles, you rely on a partner with the Shadow Tag ability to stop the opponent from switching. That's the Shadow Tag and Parish Song combo. And since the Haunter/Gengar line is weak to Psychic, on defense, you can rely on Protect or other protective moves. That's a common defensive playstyle. When Parish Song is in effect, the Pokémon with the higher speed faints first. If you use a slow Parish Song user, you can ensure the opponent goes down before you. Hikaru suddenly recalled. A slow Parish Song user? Lapras, or Toxtricity with Punk Rock. Actually, that's more of a special attacker. Then there's Cursola. Anyway, Lapras is often the core of a Parish Song strategy. Lorelei from the Elite Four seems quite experienced with that tactic. At this moment, Clairvoyance Morty commented, indeed, very few trainers use Parish Song effectively. Also, Parish Song isn't too great in single battles, so you might need to optimize it for the exam. But if you pull it off, even if you don't win, Sabrina might still be impressed. I think it's pretty awesome. Even if you lose, you'll have a high chance of being chosen. Hey, Shadow Tag and Parish Song, that's a valuable reference. Got it. A deep impression? Morty himself felt that his words were a bit cautious. Good thing Sabrina doesn't have a fiery temper. Otherwise, after that exam, it might turn into a real fight in person. Museobu, on the other hand, was a bit at a loss. Hey, I'm the one who asked for a strategy. How did you end up being the one who gets it? Morty, you're not planning to use this tactic in my exam, are you? Clairvoyance, helping new trainers improve is part of a gym leader's duty. Prayer Master Museobu, Johto's new trainers are going to suffer big time. This is like being in prison. Traveler, of course, for a partner with Shadow Tag, Gothitelle is the best choice. Gothitelle can learn Fake Out. You can use Fake Out at the start of the match to flinch the opponent's main attacker, giving you an opening and stalling their moves. That's the Fake Out and Parish Song approach, with protects and possible switch outs. You could also run Heal Pulse to restore any Pokémon whose HP took a hit during the rotation. As for items, you can use a Citrus Berry or Leftovers. I've got both of those in stock, plus a high-quality Citrus Berry. The prices are quite reasonable. Prayer Master Museobu, he's selling it. But it really does sound strong. Soul Novelist, I never thought of that strategy. It seems like it'd be really fun. I'll try it in the Unova League, too. By the way, if you don't have a Gothitelle, I can ask a friend of mine to lend you one. After all, you don't see many Unova Pokémon in Kanto. Clairvoyance, another Pokémon with Shadow Tag is Wobbuffet, but it can't learn Fake Out or Heal Pulse. Heart of Fear, humph, using Shadow Tag so the opponent can't escape Parish Song, with that chanting, it's like a death countdown in an hourglass. Kid, you sure have a knack for battling. All these ghost-type experts gave Hikaru's suggestion high praise. Meanwhile, Museobu, who was hanging around near Saffron Gym, clenched her fists. Looking at her Gengar and Haunter, she had a thought she herself could hardly believe. Maybe I can really use this tactic to beat Sabrina. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Let's do our best, Gengar, Haunter. Gengar. Han. Gengar and Haunter also looked fired up. They had no idea why their trainer suddenly became so motivated, but if it helps them face the upcoming test with confidence, that's all for the better. So, let's do our best together. Meanwhile, in the Psychics group chat. Will, I foresaw something troubling. Sabrina, indeed. That's a very formidable strategy. I never expected the shop owner to provide that kind of tactical advice. Caitlin, he gave me advice before. Even though he claims it's just to promote his shop, it's clear he really knows what he's doing when it comes to battles. Essence of Existence, an intriguing tactic. Rather than fighting head-on, it's about winning through evasion. Quite a unique approach. Awakened One, sometimes clairvoyance makes people lose interest in the future. You all say we shouldn't overuse future sight, but aren't we all doing it anyway? Caitlin, that's not true. I only foresaw this because it involves my Pokémon. Sabrina, I foresaw it because it's related to me. Essence of Existence, I just took a peek at that shop owner out of curiosity. His future is constantly shifting, and I only happened to see that strategy. Well, hey? Me? I'm not misusing anything. You all have your reasons. At this moment, at the Saffron Gym, Sabrina thought for a moment and sent a message to Lorelei. Lorelei, can I ask you something about how to counter a Parish song strategy? Chapter 94. Johto Region, Blackthorn City. Pokémon Center. This city stands among the mountains and is home to all Dragon-type trainers. Blackthorn City has many Dragon-type Pokémon and is responsible for delivering mail throughout the Johto region. Some remote mountain areas and far-off places rely on Dragon Pokémon for long-distance flights. Not too long ago, the local Pokémon Center did a check-up on these Dragon Pokémon who were out delivering mail. One Charizard drew the center's attention. Recently, its workload has increased, and its delivery speed has become incredibly fast, much higher than before. At first glance, this might be good news. However, the sudden jump in speed seemed suspicious to the Pokémon Center staff, so they called in Claire, the Blackthorn gym leader and a Dragon Pokémon expert. Although Charizard isn't a Dragon type by default, it's in the Dragon Egg group, so it's counted as a Dragon Pokémon here. Claire, the Blackthorn gym leader, has blue hair, a tight blue outfit, dark blue thigh-high boots, plus the must-have item for every dragon tamer, a black cape. Accompanying Claire is her cousin, Lance, the current champion at Indigo Plateau and the Dragon Master, also known as the Flying Type Master. However, Lance came here mainly to mail a few items. He had just finished chatting with Hikaru and rushed over. Then he found out about the odd Charizard situation. So this is the Charizard. Claire examined the Charizard and ran some tests. The results left her quite surprised. Compared to other Charizard, this one's speed had substantially increased, almost reaching the level of Dragonite, which is known for its swiftness. Speed is a key Pokémon stat. Typically, it affects which Pokémon moves first in a battle. But in real life, it also literally affects flight and movement velocity. In the usual moveset, there are also techniques like Agility and Tailwind, which clearly boost a Pokémon's movement speed as well as their initiative in battle. Hence, an increase in speed's individual potential influences not just who moves first in combat but also a Pokémon's actual traveling speed in daily life. It's definitely an unusual jump, yet there's no harm to the Charizard's body. Actually, it looks even stronger. What in the world happened? Claire looked questioningly at the burly Charizard. It puffed out its chest confidently, roaring loudly. Oh, it seems pretty happy about this boost. Tell me, which route has it been working on recently? Standing next to Claire, Lance finally spoke. He studied the excited Charizard thoughtfully, looking as if he'd figured something out. Let me see. Nurse Joy from the Pokémon Center took out a stack of paperwork and carefully checked the Charizard's delivery history. It's marked as being to the Shinto region. Shinto? What's that? Claire blinked, and Lance froze for a moment before bursting into laughter. Aha, so that's it. Charizard, you must have gotten something nice from one of your customers, right? Lance patted the Charizard, which jumped in surprise. It definitely hadn't told anyone. How'd he figure it out? Charizard groaned, a bit unwilling to admit it. Lance crossed his arms confidently. Relax, I understand. I'm guessing it wasn't like you demanded anything from them. Probably the customer gave you something to make deliveries easier. Charizard scratched its face with a claw. Cousin, what are you talking about? Claire was confused. She turned to Charizard, hands on hips, scolding, what's going on? Spill it. Seeing no way to hide it, Charizard walked over to its workbox and pulled out a meticulously carved wooden Charizard figure. Knew it. Lance's eyes lit up. He hurried over and picked up the ancient-looking sculpture for a closer look, with Nurse Joy and Claire also coming over to examine it. What an old carving! Is it some kind of ancient relic? Nurse Joy wondered, flipping through Charizard's records again. Indeed, there were many sculpture-related shipments in the log. No, it's a replica, made by a very skilled craftsman. Lance confirmed the sculpture's origin. But right now, I can't sense any special power from it. Maybe that's because Charizard already used it. Charizard nodded, letting out a couple of char sounds, indicating that the sculpture lit up once and never lit up again. Now it's just a collectible. A carving that can raise a Pokémon's speed? I've never heard of such a thing. Could it be carved from some special wood? Claire was puzzled. She turned to Lance, suspicious. Why did you guess it right away? Smiling confidently, Lance replied, because I'm also a regular at that shop. Thanks to that incredible craftsman's items, I managed to beat my rival Lorelei. Now my team of dragons is truly invincible. Speaking of which, if this carving can boost speed for dragon-type Pokémon, I'd like to buy a badge to make my dragon team even stronger. Wait. Claire blinked in confusion. Cousin, are you saying you beat Lorelei? That's right. Let me explain. Lance paused, remembering he hadn't done much to promote Hikaru's shop yet. That was an oversight. But it's not too late to share now. The so-called Shinto region is actually an area bordering Johto and Sinnoh. There lives a very skilled maker of special items. He can craft all sorts of remarkable battle and non-battle tools. Using his items grants incredible buffs to Pokémon. Before, I bought an item from him called a focus sash. With it, even if a Pokémon is hit by a normally one-hit KO attack, it can stay standing and keep fighting. Actually, if a Pokémon's bond with its trainer is strong enough, it can endure multiple hits without going down. It's thanks to that my dragon team defeated Lorelei's ice team. Lance puffed his chest, exuding an air of absolute confidence. Claire stared at him wide-eyed. You're making this up, right? A shop that sells items like that? Humph, I know words alone aren't enough to convince you. But I've got the focus sash right here. You can see for yourself. From under his cape, Lance pulled out a focus sash. Who knows where he was hiding it? He handed it to Claire and also forwarded Hikaru's shop info to Claire and the startled Nurse Joy. I came here to pick up some deliveries, so I'll give this focus sash to you. Taking the sash, Claire looked it over thoughtfully, then turned back to Lance, her eyes suddenly shining. So if I can also buy items suited for my dragon Pokémon, I can beat you, right? Lance suddenly remembered how competitive his cousin was. You still need more training. Oh, come on. You only beat Lorelei because of that item. Claire lowered her head, scrolling through the shop's wide range of goods on her device, her eyes growing ever brighter. We're both dragon trainers, but you never acknowledge my strength. Well, now that I can buy high-grade items, if I beat you, you'll have to shut up. Humph, even picking the right item can be tricky for you. Lance tried to rain on her parade. I chose Focus Sash specifically to counter the ice weakness. But we both have dragon Pokémon, so maybe Focus Sash isn't always the best choice. That's because some of your dragons aren't even dragon type. Claire snarked. Waving his hand, Lance said, anyway, if you want to buy suitable items to fight me, go for it. I'll be waiting at Indigo Plateau. Sometimes you have to accept failure to move forward. He then opened his own device to browse Hikaru's store at high speed. Now that we have items like these, battles might change drastically. I can't be overconfident. I should get some new gear. Lance thought it over and quietly sent a private message. Shop owner, do you provide advice on move and item combos? Chapter 95. Hikaru was still discussing the Parish song strategy with the ghost-type experts when he suddenly received a message from Lance. What, you want suggestions for your Dragonite's item and moveset? Hikaru was amused that someone as strong as Lance, the ultimate dragon trainer, would ask about combos. Then again, thinking about it carefully, Lance's Dragonite typically runs 4 offensive moves. A classic example of how many people here battle in all-out force style. The same can be said for the Elite Four. Let alone Musubi, that part-time trainer at Saffron Gym. Now everything makes sense. In the games, plenty of people reach Master Tier, but in reality, most trainers are novices. Nobody can really judge the other. After all, training real Pokémon is far more complicated than game data. It requires tremendous time and resources, and it doesn't neatly match game stats. Anyone who can come up with a unique strategy is already considered somewhat famous. Someone who deeply studies tactical depth is basically an expert in the field. For Lance, he's too reliant on Hyper Beam. Even the Elite Four have gaps in their knowledge. So as a craftsman who actually designs battle items, Hikaru gets it. Since you're asking so earnestly, I can indeed suggest a few combos. But I'm missing some materials for certain items. You'll have to wait until I restock before I can craft them. Hikaru replied while sending over some potential moves, abilities, and item setups. If your Dragonite has the multi-scale ability, in singles you could use a citrus berry, leftovers, or rocky helmet, for example. Dragonite is seldom described as common, so I'll just break it down a bit. Most dragon trainers view dragons as majestic powerhouses, so they tend to run purely offensive builds. For instance, a Dragonite with Dragon Dance can become an offensive monster. In an official format where you can only use 4 moves, a standard set would be Outrage and Dragon Dance and Extreme Speed and Earthquake for high DPS. But Dragonite has a wide learn set. Abandoning brute force can lead to a troll stall dragon approach that might unexpectedly beat stronger foes. Dragonite really can learn nearly anything. The only thing it can't do is be a Pokémon trainer itself. Well, maybe that's possible, if you think about it. For example, still assuming a format with 4 moves allowed, you can run moves like Air Slash and Roost and Thunder Wave and Encore to frustrate the opponent, or combine a big hitter like Draco Meteor with Roost and Fire Spin and Encore. Use Fire Spin to trap the opponent, then Roost to sustain, Encore to lock them into a move, and Rocky Helmet gives you guaranteed damage. At that point, Hikaru paused. Rocky Helmet does appear in the anime. He's not certain if the Rocky Helmet he crafts will produce the same fixed damage on contact effect as in the games. Anyway, the point is to exploit Draco Meteor plus a stall approach to wear the foe down. Maybe I can experiment with forging a Rocky Helmet. Likely it'll need rock-type Pokémon materials. If it has the Inner Focus ability in doubles, you can use a Choice Band and teach it Icy Wind. Inner Focus prevents Intimidate and Fake Out. With Icy Wind, you can disrupt the opponent's field. The Choice Band raises attack power, though it does lock you into one move. Well, I'm not selling choice items yet, but once I have them, stay tuned. Meanwhile, if you're up against Fairy or Ice Pokémon, you can run Steel-type moves for coverage. In earlier generations, Dragonite could learn Iron Head, Iron Tail, and Steel Wing, but they're all short-range moves. Facing a special attacker that fights from afar, you might struggle to close the gap. Such is the usual problem with physical steel moves. Still, if an Elite 4 level trainer invests enough time, maybe they can train Iron Head to an unbelievable level. In the anime, the most extreme example might be Brandon's Registeel. Iron Head was unleashed like a meteor mash, cloaking itself in steel energy and just smashing forward. Though for Dragonite, you could also try combos like Loaded Dice and Dragon Dance and Scale Shot, but I don't have a Scale Shot tutor. Plus I need to see if I can figure out how to craft a loaded dice from the mechanical data I got from someone else. Hikaru suddenly thought. However, if the opponent also purchased items from me like a focus sash and they're using a fairy/ghost or ice/ghost type, Dragonite's prized extreme speed might be useless. So, in terms of priority moves, you might consider Aquajet instead of extreme speed. But for Dragonite, Aquajet is an egg move, so you'd have to put in some effort. And in unrestricted battles, a Dragonite that knows all these different combos is even more of a nightmare. Though you'd have to watch out for real-world battles turning into fistfights, but Lance is well prepared for that, presumably. Yes, this is the 3rd time I've given strategy advice. Hikaru thought for a moment. Offering battle consultation might be good for promoting the shop's products. In building different teams and strategies, you often need corresponding items. Some are only available at his shop. Maybe I should also try playing some online matches. I recall there's a virtual battle software. He did a quick search. He'd never paid attention to it before, but sure enough, it exists. It's developed by a well-known battle company in Unova. In the games, that company is famous for battle items, and they help with improving items like Pokeballs. In this real world, that company's main project is designing battle simulations, letting people around the globe fight each other virtually. Virtual battles greatly reduce the trial and error cost of training and serve as a form of strategic simulation. Similar projects have popped up in other regions too, like the Worldwide Link Terminal in Johto's Goldenrod City. Hikaru found the virtual battle software, which had a straightforward name, Poke Battle. He created an account. For the profile, he just wrote, "Check out the Traveler's Workshop." And presumably the network speed in Johto is quite decent, so that's nice. Meanwhile, Lance, who had just messaged Hikaru privately, now wore a thoughtful look, quite impressed. All his Dragonite rely on 4 offensive moves, basically brute-forcing opponents. Sometimes, he'll just spam Hyper Beam on Team Rocket grunts. In his mind, Dragonite equals raw power. But so many different tactics. Although these strategies differ from my usual fighting style, I can keep them as secret weapons in certain matchups. That might let me pull off unexpected comebacks. I just need to fine-tune them in real battles. Theory is one thing. Real combat is another. But with a solid theoretical foundation plus a top-class trainer, the result could be a fearsome tactic. I never expected that I'd get so many unique pointers just by casually asking. Hikaru's understanding of battles is really deep. Then again, if he wasn't highly experienced, he couldn't have crafted all those specialized battle items. Maybe he used to be a famous trainer in Sinnoh. Or perhaps he's just a recluse, like our elder in the Dragon's Den. In any case, I get it. There are quite a few items I've never heard of, like the choice band, rocky helmet, and so on. Oh, but I see leftovers in the store. So that's what it does. I get it now. He saved all the notes. Then, as Claire glanced over suspiciously, Lance switched back to his usual cocky expression. His cousin still has a long way to go in battle strategy. Maybe they should both try some virtual matches first. In the Kanto region, Caei Islands, 4 Island. Lorelei never expected Hikaru to provide tactical consultations, but recalling how his earliest special items were designed for battle, it made sense. Giving battle advice is also good for promoting his workshop's merchandise. Shadow Tag and Parish Song, that's quite the deadly combo and very practical, too. The question from Sabrina made Lorelei think. Sabrina mainly uses psychic types, Lorelei is an ice type specialist, but she does have experience with Parish Song. Still, it's a bit odd to be asked how to counter this tactic for a mere gym test, but apparently Sabrina is serious about it. If the challenger is using an interesting strategy and I can't counter it, then the match isn't going to be fun. That's what Sabrina said. Though she only sent a brief text, Lorelei sensed Sabrina's excitement. She's not usually that eager about battling. What's got her so hyped? Well, ghost Pokémon can escape Shadow Tag. I've read in academic papers that Shadow Tag and Mean Look create a can't escape condition. Ghost types aren't affected. That's how it was explained. The best move to counter Parish Song is definitely Taunt. But you have to time it right. Also, research now suggests that ghost types can't be locked in by Shadow Tag, so using a strong ghost type might help you. Another option is using a Pokémon with the soundproof ability to block Parish Song's effect. Though Sabrina is a psychic specialist, borrowing a ghost type for the exam might work. But if you're not familiar with ghost types, you'll have trouble using it well. It's not something you can master just by reading a strategy. After all, in actual battles, command synergy, reflexes, reading the opponent, timing, the Pokémon's condition, stamina management, even the bond with the trainer are crucial. Even the classic dodge can be hard unless the trainer is extremely skilled, or else the Pokémon might just stand there confused and get knocked out. And now we're adding items to the mix. Trainers who master multiple types are either champion level or random amateurs. Very high ceiling, very low floor. Lorelei pushed up her glasses, the lens glinting. A slight dangerous smile touched her lips. What if I used that tactic on Lance? That would be fun. Chapter 96. After Hikaru exited the ghost-type experts group, he noticed the psychic let's call it the doll group chat had an influx of new messages. Once he finished reading, he fell into deep thought. Future Sight really seems too overpowered. They're discussing everything across group chats, each one claiming they won't abuse it, yet they're all spamming it enthusiastically. This doesn't look good for Muse. Sabrina has already stated she'll fight with full force, and she's probably borrowing extra Pokémon in secret. Sorry, Muse. It looks like the result of this exam will come down to you and your Pokémon's bond. That's all I can do to help. Even if you can't win, at least go down with dignity. You've got to defend the honor of us spiritual folks. At the same time, Hikaru opened the Battle Company's software on his computer and decided to start his first match. Since he'd just recommended a Parish Song team, he'd try it out himself in this virtual matchup. Items are somewhat limited, but I do have plenty of berries and some natural power boosters. Okay, let's go. This is just a small test. In the virtual software, you can choose from a wide array of Pokémon generated according to data published by each region's professor. Because the software was only released in recent years, some regions' Pokémon data hasn't been fully added yet, including legendary and mythical Pokémon. Gengar, Dugong, Gothitelle, Scrafty, Among Us. In the Unova region, Lacunosa Town. What kind of messed up team is this? Who battles like that? Stop it. You're not even a real trainer. And you have the nerve to advertise your shop? The nerve. One player had run into a strange matchup on the simulator, an unending Parish song and shadow tag lock. They were on the verge of ripping out their internet cable. They'd been excited to log in for some casual daily battles, hoping for a fun, passionate match and more experience. Who knew they'd face such a bizarre opponent? What is up with this so-called intelligent system? Who's actually winning here? A clear-voiced young woman with a high ponytail clutched her head in frustration. She stared at her battle results screen with dismay. She desperately wanted to rage quit. But due to her sense of sportsmanship, she ended up accepting defeat anyway. Losing is one thing, but yanking the cable is another. As a trainer, I should at least own my failures. Sigh. I'm calmer now after venting. I should keep trying. After all, running into a weirdo like that is a rare occurrence. But in fairness, this player is pretty skilled, even if their methods are sneaky. Truly, there are trainers of all kinds in the world, with all kinds of tactics. I'm definitely not ready to travel yet. This battling software can teach me so much more before I set out. The girl named Duza decided she was still too green. When it comes to battles, you've got to win. Losing always hurts. To become stronger before heading out on her journey, she'd accumulate enough experience here. Time to queue again. Near Pallet Town in the Kanto region. What is this team? Lorelei's Parish song tactic. But it's totally different. Very interesting, indeed, just as you said. A girl wearing a sun hat watched the simulated battle on her software. Her Venusaur was on its last legs. If this were a real fight, she might have clutched a victory with the bond between her and her Pokémon. But this is a simulation, where cold data doesn't account for the trainer-Pokémon bond or other special circumstances. One side has chosen to forfeit. Leaf tapped forfeit, ending the frustrating game. Even Lorelei's Dugong-based Parish song wasn't this annoying, at least that was somewhat straightforward, leading with fake out. Check out the workshop. That phrase doesn't sound like a friendly plug, it's more like a post-battle taunt. Don't they worry people will track them down online to rage at them. This guy is infuriating. A message popped up on Leaf's Pokeger from someone with the ID Sullen. So, did you beat him? No, I surrendered. Hey. But you're... Wait, you actually lost. Well, the software is still just software. It can't replicate every nuance of a real fight. So I'm treating it as theoretical data. In a real match, I wouldn't go down so easily. Ugh, I got matched with that bizarre user too, and I was hoping you could avenge me. They probably don't even know who you are. Facing her friend's complaints, Leaf could only sigh and offer some vague maybe next time responses. She then shifted the conversation to Sullen's business situation. Business is fine. But I've run into a weird rival group lately, like 3 people forming a knockoff team. Not only is their fakery better than mine, but their production speed is beyond reason. And to top it off, I wanted to chill out by playing a match, only to lose to another shop owner. So unlucky. Defeated by some small-timers store. Oh, by the way, Leaf. Since I can't reach Red, how about taking these unsold goods for me? I refuse. Leaf typed her merciless reply. Immediately, Sullen responded with a crying emoji. Warm hands, cold words. All right then, if neither of you will help, I do have another idea. The moment I followed that workshop, I was thinking, maybe I can just copy their items and sell them myself. Specialized battle gear is such a draw. But the problem is, even though it looks like a small, obscure shop, the items' descriptions are so bizarre that I'm unsure. If they really do what they claim, I might not dare to counterfeit them, maybe I'd just market them as novelty merch. Like, Focus Sash, the spin-off version. I'm not sure I get it. Anyway, I'll buy some and test them out myself. Right, that gear sounds crazy, doesn't it? A Focus Sash that keeps a Pokémon standing even when hit with a finishing blow? That's practically cheating. Sullen was still ranting somewhere. Then Leaf noticed a familiar, cocky figure strolling down the road into Pallet Town. Green. Oh, so you're finally back, Leaf. I've been waiting all day. Let's battle right now. You're going down this time. A battle? Leaf raised an eyebrow. They'd called her back for some secret test, so she'd hurried home, and it wasn't too far from Pallet Town. Now Green's Pokémon, a Radon. Wait, that belt Radon's wearing. Leaf, is that a focus sash? So that's his plan to blindside me with a fancy item, hey? Great. Let's see if that magical gear actually works. I'll find out myself. Chapter 97. Shinto, the Traveler's Workshop. After Hikaru finished a few test matches, he saw his account suddenly gain several new followers. He nodded to himself. Bullying people really does net you followers fast. Fortunately, no one had managed to track him down for a rant, thanks to the software having no stranger message function. Gaining attention is a victory in itself. That's the start of marketing. After that, Hikaru went back to his usual work. Using the lumber dowel blade chopped and the stones Regirock carried, Hikaru and his Pokémon started constructing a small shed near the workshop. This small shed was built behind the forging area, as a temporary expansion. Hikaru plans to convert it into a greenhouse later, for growing some rare crops. After all, winters in Shinto can be harsh. While he might leave in autumn and winter, there's still a lot of cultivated stuff that can't be abandoned. He can hire the forest Pokémon to help care for it. For now, the shed's main function is to give Regirock some shelter. You can't just let your client sleep outside all the time. Later, he could add more rooms or stand-alone buildings. Hikaru weighed his options. While Hikaru hammered the shed together, Lily Gant helped, Regirock carried materials and Dowblade and Turwig handled the cutting of wood. Dowblade was teaching Turwig how to use razor leaf precisely for woodworking. Unown, meanwhile, couldn't really help and just stayed stuck to Regirock, adding extra burden. Once the wooden structure took shape, Regirock raised both arms in delight, clearly pleased. Its emotional range now matched Brandon's Regirock from the anime. Even these ancient Pokémon have feelings, it's just that normal Pokémon can't understand them. In the Tree of Beginning, the three Regis definitely showed emotions. What did Regigigas feel when creating them? Why give them life in the first place? After finishing up work, Hikaru did routine maintenance and repairs on Regirock. He also transplanted some special light moss onto its body. The light moss grants a boost in SP. Def when the wearer is hit by water moves, helping them handle rain. A good outer layer for a rock type. Hikaru observed the moss-clad Regirock. It now looks a bit like a miniature Regigigas. With no new consults popping up, he returned to working on crafting rare candies. Lily Gant, can you carve some stone for me? Lily. Lily Gant gestured at herself with a leaf. You want me to carve? Great. Lily Gant was excited. She stopped Regirock from carrying the stones away. Originally, she'd wanted to sculpt a human figure for her trainer, but she botched it last time and was too embarrassed. This time, she wanted to try sculpting Regirock instead. Making Pokémon statues is simpler than sculpting humans. Recalling Hikaru's masterful carving, the way he can replicate humans so vividly, Lily Gant couldn't help but admire him. Lily. Regirock willingly agreed to stand still. Turwig had nothing else to do, so it watched curiously from the side. Dowblade floated around Lily Gant, letting out a yo-oh sound. This time, I'll teach you how to carve. Lily. Lily Gant was thrilled, nodding before settling into a serious posture. She activated Leaf Blade with her arms. Grass-type Leaf Blade is super effective on stone. Yo-oh-p! Dowblade suddenly called out, stopping her from swinging. Its ribbons tapped a point on the rock. No, no. Don't carve with that much force. Yoob. Look carefully at Regirock's face before cutting. Lily. Lily Gant turned to Regirock's face. The big H on that flat face didn't show any expression at all. Lily. Isn't it basically one slash for a flat surface? Dowblade, like a proper teacher, hovered to Regirock, waving its ribbons in front of Regirock's face. Yo up. Pay attention. Regirock's eyes are lit up, right? The H shape is brighter than usual. Yo. Plus, the face isn't totally flat. If you look closely, there's a ridge in the middle, giving the sides a slope. The rocky texture too. If you just carve out a stone shape, that's not a statue, it's just leftover rock. Dowblade explained while grabbing Unown off Regirock's body and pressing it to Regirock's face. Lily. Lily Gant was startled to see that the sides of Regirock's face did have a slight incline. Unown. Unown sighed, floating off Regirock to find a comfy spot on the half-built shed. Lily Gant jogged back to examine Regirock's face up close, nodding here and there. After observing thoroughly, she returned to the stone block and carefully resumed leaf blade. This time, she eased up. The green glow around her leaves was just a faint outline as she carved. Dao Blade stood by, watching carefully. If she pushed too hard, Dao Blade would step in to guide her. Precision and elegance, that's the essence of stone carving. You must carve with a steady hand. Dao Blade had ample experience shaping rock. Acting like a stone carving instructor, it directed Lily Gant. In a short time, they'd produced a decent half-bust of Regirock. Nah! Turwig blinked in surprise. It's way better than her last attempt. Yo-oh-oh! Dao Blade, quite proud, boasted that with a master like itself guiding the process, of course there'd be immediate results. Regirock examined the statue, the age glowing repeatedly. Contemplating, that's my face. Suddenly, Regirock raised both arms, which meant it approved of Lilligant's sculpture. Maybe we can put that in the temple. Lily Gant squealed with joy. Yes. If it can be placed in the temple, that's the ultimate recognition. One of a sculptor's greatest achievements is to have their work displayed in a temple. And Regirock's the temple guardian earning its approval meant success. Yo-oh-oh! However, Dao Blade poured a little cold water on her excitement, letting out a sound like not so fast. You've only been approved by Regirock. Without my pointers, you'd have messed up countless times. You have to thoroughly learn all the carving techniques, know when to cut precisely, and control your power. Only then are you truly qualified as a sculptor. Lily Gant carves partly to help out, partly because she enjoys it, and partly for the same reason her trainer values it, to offset the drawbacks of her chlorophyll or hustle-like ability, improving accuracy and precision. So this skill level isn't enough yet. There's a long way to go. Still, Lily Gant didn't give up. She warmly hugged Regirock, then Dao Blade, and even lifted Turwig up high, proclaiming she'd work even harder. Thank you, Dao Blade senpai. Yo-oh-oh! Dao Blade had zero resistance to her hugs. Whatever scolding it planned to do melted away. It remembered back when Lily Gant was just a petalil she put in great effort, training, and working for her goals. What Dao Blade admires, what it looks up to, what it loves, what it recognizes, is exactly that side of Lily Gant. That hard-working spirit is so beautiful. Yo-oh-oh! Indeed, keep it up. One day you'll be a magnificent Pokémon. Dao Blade encouraged her. Turwig and Regirock cheered along. Yes. In our new kingdom, I appoint you Minister of the Garden. Turwig is still too young, so it can stay as a potted plant for now. As for the watery illusions from dreams, they'll be the perfect rides or something. Dao Blade crossed its ribbon arms, as if folding them, and the eyes on both blades closed, lost in daydreams. Hearing Dao Blade's talk about kingdom, Lily Gant shook her leaves in exasperation. Lily! Dao Blade senpai, you're daydreaming again. Yo-oh-oh! Dao Blade responded sulkily, daydreaming? That's called having a dream. A trainer needs ambition, and so do Pokémon. Even though I've been let down a few times, I'll never give up on building my ideal realm. Nah! Turwig uttered an enthusiastic cry. Its dream is to gather loads of rare plants and grow them on its shell, collecting every exotic flora until it's as big as the Torterra that Hikaru once mentioned. It wants to grow huge. Watching the two ancient Pokémon excitedly chat, Lily Gant waved a leaf in resignation. Then again, if she can always stay with her trainer and everyone else, even building a kingdom like that wouldn't be so bad. Including the ones who left, like Celebi. If a place like that truly existed. She began to imagine it, but soon refocused on the unfinished lower half of the statue. Her leaves once again glowed with that sharp green edge. Time to keep carving. Sculpture is a way to express feelings and memories. Leaving everyone's statues in this land, so that far in the future, we'll still be together. Lily Gant stared at the half-finished statue, her leaves glowing with renewed vigor. Meanwhile, Hikaru, busy working on rare candy, felt a sudden feedback from Lilligant's progress. Hisui and Lily Gant gained repeated experience from her task and grew. Move learned, close combat. Lily Gant gained +1 knowledge. Precision blade, plus 10% to accuracy and move power, plus 25% to carving accuracy. Crack! A noise of stone shattering echoed from outside. Chapter 98. Mickleberry, high-grade pecha berries, dazzling honey, and a selection of powdered berries. Following the knowledge in his mind, Hikaru processed them step by step. First, he dried many of the berries, ground them up, and mixed them together to form berry powder, then stir-fried it. Then he took the mickleberry and pecha berries, cutting them open and blending them into juice with his Kingdra brown juicer, combining the juices. Meanwhile, he prepared molds, put the mixture in a pot, added dazzling honey, and heated it, stirring constantly to prevent sticking. Once it became thick, he kept flipping it. When it reached the consistency of steamed buns, he scooped out the thickened fruit mix, placed it in molds, sprinkled the fried berry powder on top, let it cool completely, and cut it into pieces. Cooling it is easy, just set an icy rock nearby, and the cold gradually seeps in, solidifying the mix in no time. By the time Hikaru finished, the sky had grown dark. Sunset was upon them. You've completed a craft. Crafted item, rare candy. Effect, a candy brimming with energy. Give it to a Pokémon, and all its stats will grow. Unique effect, slightly raises 3 random effort values. Plus 10% chance to learn a new move. In the games, rare candy is sometimes found lying around. It's known for boosting levels. In the anime, it scarcely appears. Here in reality, its level up effect takes the form of overall stat growth. Since a Pokémon's stats naturally rise with level UPS, it's essentially the same idea. An indirect way of leveling. A long time, highly trained Pokémon in the games is simply a higher level Pokémon in reality. Hikaru happily took the freshly made rare candies outside. Gant was still practicing her carving under Doublade's guidance. Regirock was busy hauling stones and timber and creating ancient rock. Unown was dozing on the wall. Come have a taste of these. Hikaru beckoned, and Gant hopped over first, Doubblade floated second, Turwig plodded over third, followed by Regirock and Unown. How's the sculpting? Hikaru asked Gant and Doubblade with a smile. Gant was thrilled. She described how her sculpting had improved drastically. Doubblade still felt it wasn't quite enough, but she'd keep working even harder. Doubblade was extremely strict, completely different from its usual whatever attitude. Regirock also helped a ton. It said they could put her statue in its temple. Turwig, well, it was an excellent spectator for the carving show. Yo. Doubblade seemed a bit smug, narrowing both eyes in satisfaction. Not bad. Under my guidance, Gant's carving skills have improved, though still not there yet. Next, Regirock came over with an armful of ancient rock, showing its day's work. Thanks. Just leave them there. Now, let's have some candy. Hikaru paused awkwardly. Regirock can't exactly eat candy. This isn't like in the games, where no mouth is no problem. And come to think of it, none of the Regis have mouths, they're eternal Pokémon. But looking at the other Pokémon, Hikaru realized something. Most of the Pokémon he knows apart from Celebi and Turwig don't have mouths either. Hey! I've got it! Hold on a sec. He rushed back with the finished rare candies, dried them further, and ground them into powder. Crafted item, rare candy powder. Effect, a powder brimming with energy. Sprinkle it on a Pokémon, and all its stats will grow. Unique effect, slightly increases Pokémon's vitality. Plus 10% chance to learn a new move. Alright, this works. He then realized, if you can powder it, you can also dissolve it into juice. So he tried that next. Crafted item, rare berry juice. Effect, juice brimming with energy. Let a Pokémon absorb it, and all its stats will grow. Unique effect, slightly boosts all base stats. Plus 10% chance to learn a new move. Yes, each version has minor differences but basically retains the rare candy effect. And each unique effect is excellent. Although Hikaru's rare candy craftsmanship isn't super advanced, the finished product is still impressive. He brought out the candy, juice, and powder. The Pokémon all gathered around curiously. These contain special energy that can strengthen you all. They're about the same, so pick whichever you prefer. Hikaru slid the tray forward. Gant used one leafy arm to hold the juice, sipping it with her other hand. Turwig just went straight for the solid candy. Doubblade picked up a candy too, absorbing it with its ghostly ribbons, same as always. Regirock chose the powder. Hikaru helped sprinkle it evenly over its body. Unown went with the candy, tapping it lightly, instantly absorbing it, leaving Doubblade astonished. Wait, how'd you do that? Aren't you a psychic type? Unown, indeed. That is the power of psychic. You silly ghost sword. You have to absorb it slowly. All of them felt stronger after ingesting the rare candy in its various forms. Incredible candy. Alright, rare candy success. Hikaru was delighted. We've got a bunch of mickle berries, so now we can make these every day. Anyway, these Pokémon can't get cavities if they don't have mouths. No problem for them. He's the only one who needs to worry about a sweet tooth. With the new item complete, of course he'd consider selling it. Though it's not too difficult to craft, the bottleneck is getting enough mickle berries and other ingredients. Some berries have very long growth times, and some are quite rare. Plus, high-quality pecha berries. In the games, the top-tier ones are sometimes called miracle pecha berries, rumored to bloom once every few years. They say on a carefully cultivated pecha tree, you might get one such fruit that looks noticeably different. Without Celebi's help, obtaining top-grade pecha berries would take a while. Even with some gardening knowledge, he wouldn't get many at once. Which makes me wonder how far off my high-grade pecha berries are from actual miracle pecha berries. Still, even standard high-quality fruit is rare in the world. In any case, if I list rare candy in my shop, I'll set the quantity at 100 pieces. Each customer can only buy 10 max. In the games, you might buy rare candy from some shops for 10,000. But in reality, given the limited supply of mickle berries and top pecha berries, 10,000 seems too cheap. Besides, the store's popularity has risen. No need to rely on ultra-cheap products to lure people in. While fair pricing is nice for attracting customers, collecting materials is no easy job. Of course, Hikaru would add a note. If your Pokémon doesn't have a mouth, you can swap it for an equivalent amount of candy powder or berry juice. The effect is the same. If possible, he'd love to set the quantity to X999. But he doesn't have enough mickle berries or other ingredients for that. Making 999 rare candies would consume half his berry stock. Come to think of it, because my Pokémon don't eat normal food, my supply consumption is pretty low. And the stuff I do make also has subtle beneficial effects. Maybe next time I'll gather more rare cooking ingredients, like some herba mystica. While Hikaru pondered, he felt a swirl of consciousness merging in his mind. It was from the Pokémon harnessing the rare candy's power, letting them learn new moves. Congratulations, Hisuian Lilligant gained experience and grew. Move learned, Solar Blade. Congratulations, Turtwig gained experience and grew. Move learned, Protect. Congratulations, Regirock gained experience and grew. Move learned, Body Press. Congratulations, Dowblade gained experience and grew. Move learned, Destiny Bond. All the Pokémon cheered, amazed at their new powers. A peculiar ghost aura floated around Dowblade. Regirock swung its arms, feeling that its usual defensive strength had transformed into raw offense. Turtwig sensed energy flow, generating a pale green see-through barrier in front of itself that's Protect. And Lilligant underwent the greatest change. Swoosh, both of Lilligant's leafy arms glowed brilliantly, absorbing the evening light and transforming it in an incredible way. Dory. Similar to the feeling of gathering sunlight for solar beam, but Lilligant channeled it into her leaves and used a leaf blade style. The edges flared into a giant blade of light. Solar Blade. Hikaru was stunned. Solar Blade is basically the physical version of solar beam, needing a turn to gather sunlight and the next turn to slash. But storing it without firing, is that some new technique? Solar Leaf Blade? Now the entire blade is basically Lilligant's arms. She swung them excitedly, the giant glowing blade slicing the air, startling the others into scattering. Dancing while using dual solar blades, maybe I'll call it Sun Dance. Hikaru gave a name to her new dance routine. Also, Regirock's Body Press is an excellent, rare move. He'll have to craft more move tutors for that. Amid the excitement, Unown floated up to Hikaru's face, stared, then looked at the other Pokémon. Hey? What are you guys happy about? Did something happen? Why'd you all start using new moves? Hikaru scratched his chin. Oh right, Unown only knows hidden power, so these extra learning effects don't apply to you. Unown widened its eye. Hey? The candy does that? And how come it always happens to me? Watching the four excited Pokémon, Unown sank into sorrow, sticking itself to the wall. Pokémon can't truly share each other's highs and lows. Unown only felt they were too noisy. Chapter 99. Among all the Pokémon present, the one most surprised by its own condition was Turwig. Although it had been staying with Hikaru for many days, this was its first time eating such a peculiar food like rare candy. It clearly felt its body growing, as if many powers were surging forth from within. However, it did not evolve. Turwig was very curious about rare candy. Hikaru noticed Turwig had eaten quite a few rare candies, but there were no signs of evolution. Still, the plants on Turwig's shell seemed to be growing better than ever. Hikaru showed a thoughtful expression. Those herbs growing on Turwig's back had gradually formed a perfect symbiotic relationship with it. So, once it evolves, it won't literally turn into some kind of powerful shrub, right? During a break, Hikaru went to the fields again to check on the fruit trees. In truth, the main focus was examining the leaves. Before long, with meticulous searching, Hikaru found several golden leaves and silver leaves on the lumberry trees. Driven by excitement, Hikaru continued hunting among the fruit trees. Just then, Lilligant's voice sounded. It turned out Lilligant had somehow found 3 golden leaves and 3 silver leaves. Now that we have enough golden leaves and silver leaves, we can try making the blunder policy and weakness policy. Hikaru felt a surge of energy throughout his body. All the previous fatigue vanished, and Lilligant happily danced in response. Lilligant gestured toward the tall oak tree on the nearby hillside. That was the oak tree Hikaru and Celebi had planted earlier. Those golden and silver leaves had come from that very tree. Trees I cultivate have a 10% chance of growing golden leaves and silver leaves. So even the saplings we planted before can produce them. Because this oak tree carried Celebi's power, it indeed brought good fortune. However, 10% is still too low for Hikaru's liking. He thought of the relic berry forest, or rather, the entire Shinto forest. Perhaps, whenever he has free time, he should volunteer in the forest to cultivate more seeds, so that more golden and silver leaves might grow. Ideally, there would be an entire tree covered in golden and silver leaves. But that would essentially mean cultivating a new variety of tree. Which tree would serve as the best base stock for nurturing leaves of gold and silver? Maybe there are tree experts in other regions who could provide insight. Hikaru mulled it over carefully. Night fell. In the forge, flames blazed intensely as Hikaru began crafting a variety of custom-ordered items. He left the back door open. Inside the forge, Lilligant used weather ball to raise fire. The huge bubble of energy was compressed down to a very small size, a sign of her improved mastery of the weather ball technique. However, for Hikaru, the sunshine and elevated temperature inside the room seemed a bit over the top. Next time, maybe I'll toss Sunny Day into the furnace. Let's try a little indoor sunshine experiment. It's a good thing Shinto's climate isn't very hot. If this were somewhere warm like Hone, it'd be a real headache. Dowblade wasn't too pleased about this either. Confronted by those roaring flames, Dowblade was still rather uneasy. Its special defense is too low, and it has a double weakness to fire. Whenever it sees Lilligant producing flames, Dowblade can't help but think, she doesn't seem like a grass-type Pokémon at all. None of these tools were difficult to craft. With the advantage of forging expertise and refined forging knowledge, Hikaru quickly produced both the exploration kit and the gardening set, having made similar items before. Exploration kit, shovel, pickaxe, hammer. Gardening set, watering can, pruning shears, small spade, hoe, soil loosener. Tool, crushing hammer. Craft effect, plus 15% destruction speed. Tool, pruning shears. Craft effect, plus 15% pruning speed, comes with precision pruning. Tool, small cultivator. Craft effect, plus 15% soil loosening speed, unique effect rototiller. Hey, this is pretty useful. Hikaru looked at the newly forged cultivator head. This cultivator can use rototiller? Is that the move rototiller? If so, even if the Diglett aren't around, he can speed up plowing using this tool, and rototiller as a move differs from simple plowing. Using rototiller makes it easier for plants to grow, and it increases grass-type Pokémon's attack and SP. ATK. After placing these finished tools aside, Hikaru realized that scrap iron and iron ore quantities had dropped sharply, so he'd have to ask Regirock to dig up more minerals for him soon. During the forging process, Hikaru also unlocked a new craftable item. Crafted item, metal coat. Effect, a special metallic coating. When held, the power of steel-type moves is boosted. Certain Pokémon can evolve when it's used on them. In the Pokémon world, metal coat isn't the same as a high-grade metal film in the conventional sense. it's more like the shed iron plating from steel-type Pokémon. In the games, the item icon is basically just a metal container. Inside is the real film, a metallic, viscous material resembling a facial mask. Such an odd substance originates from steel-type Pokémon. All Hikaru did was a simple smelting of steel-type Pokémon materials to produce it. It was made using bits of steel shed by a Steelix during mining, along with fragments of Fortress's shell. By repeating certain tasks, you have gained knowledge. Forge Expert, plus 20% forging efficiency, and your strength has increased. Once the crafting session was complete, Hikaru and his Pokémon took a short break. They returned to the house to begin some sewing work. At this moment, Dowblade also floated in, swaying lightly, as though it sensed something. Yuwu. Are we sewing something today too? Coming straight from the forge, what a busy life. That's how work is, busy every day, but fulfilling. However, I've been thinking, after autumn, we might close shop for a while. Yuwu. Dowblade was quite surprised. Wasn't Hikaru's dream to revitalize the workshop and dominate the Johto region's market? Why close now? There've been too many invitations. Besides, it'll be a temporary closure. Also, once autumn and winter set in here, the mountains get snowed in. Even a Charizard might not get through. Such is this ancient land of Shinto. In autumn and winter, snowstorms rage. During autumn, the temperature drops, and it starts to snow lightly. Although the original owner of this place never lived here long, the villagers, the old man in the mountains, and Wang Gluo all said so. Come winter, there's simply no way to ship packages out. Which means business must shut down. Therefore, we have to earn as much money as possible during summer. Upoo. Dowblade sank into thought. Travel? It rarely considered that. Its previous journeys were forced by that strange traveling merchant. Now it's leaving on its own, just as this new home was finally looking promising. A wave of sorrow abruptly welled up in Dowblade's heart. You're overthinking it. We're only leaving temporarily. We'll be back next spring or summer. Seeing Dowblade's reaction, Hikaru couldn't help but think of one particular item. Hoopa's golden rings can traverse space. If we had that, we could come back to the workshop anytime, even if we traveled to another region or opened a branch shop. But that kind of item is a power inherent to the Pokémon itself, and crossing space is just too over the top. What materials would be required to forge something like that? Hikaru shook off this line of thought, pushing some sturdy fabric forward. Here, do some cutting. Certificates are generally on paper, but in ancient times, cloth certificates were used. Paper certificates can degrade easily in tough environments. Cloth ones, though, are much more durable. The embroidery-based approach also fits the concept of crafting an item. With Dowblade's double-hit cutting technique, the fabric was quickly sliced neatly. Meanwhile, Hikaru began sewing both the front and back of the certificates, weaving the golden leaves into them. To be honest, in the real world, it would be impossible for an item to boost your strength after you miss an attack, or to act like a certificate yet enhance your abilities. But thanks to marvelous crafting techniques and special knowledge, Hikaru could create this unique item, something nobody else knew about. Using tough cloth, materials from Pokémon with the Vital Spirit ability, golden leaves, mysterious incantations, and most crucially spiritual energy and mental power. Originally, the vitality material was Delibird's feathers. But now that Hisuian Lilligant also has vital spirit, her pollen and petals can be used as well. Hikaru and Dowblade tinkered in the room for 3 hours, nearly until midnight, and finally completed these two unique items. They bore strange writing, stamped with an inexplicable red seal, radiating spiritual energy much like a cleanse tag, as if bridging communication with the outside world for judgment. Crafting complete. Crafted item, Blunder Policy. Description: an item made from Pokémon materials and golden leaves, woven with special incantations and a mysterious certificate process. Effect: if a move misses due to accuracy, speed is greatly increased. Crafted item, Weakness Policy. Description: an item made from Pokémon materials and golden leaves, woven with special incantations and a mysterious certificate process. Effect: if hit by a super effective move, attack and SP. ATK are greatly increased. Knowledge +2. Growth Insight: through training, Pokémon can effectively heighten their awareness of the outside world, aiding accuracy, critical hit ratio, and reaction speed. Weakness Resistance: through targeted training, they can better overcome unfavorable type matchups, boosting endurance and stamina. Chapter 100. Early the next morning, Hikaru woke up bright and early. Though he had done a lot of work yesterday, his body actually felt stronger, and his mind was exceptionally clear. Perhaps this was the result of the knowledge improving his body. People with spiritual power or psychic abilities often differ from ordinary folk in both body and mind. July 5, cloudy weather. Hikaru followed his routine and gave Turwig some water. Then he received a message from Stephen, who estimated he would arrive in the afternoon. While making breakfast, Hikaru suddenly recalled something. He took plump beans, dazzling honey, smoked tubers and Calyrex base, boiled them in a pot, poured the mixture into a mold, then placed an ice stone on top. The chilly ice-type energy cooled the mixture. Afterward, he took it out to slice. Obtained Old Gato. Description: a hidden specialty of Eterna, it can cure all status conditions of a single Pokémon. You have created an extra dish and gained a crafting reward. Cooking: C+, you can now prepare various hot meals. Thanks to your cooking, dishes can possess special effects that grant Pokémon boosts and improvements. Unique benefit: Stamina LV1. Consuming this dish slightly increases stamina and reduces fatigue. Turns out making just one unique snack can unlock the hot foods craft. Though Old Gato is made by simmering, it's actually eaten cold. Hikaru eyed the Old Gato he had made and tasted a bit himself. His energy really did feel higher, very noticeable. If a Pokémon were to consume it, the effect should be even better. Afterward, Hikaru opened his Pokejar to look up the recipe for Poke Blocks. He had completely mastered how to make Calyrex foods, and now with cooking at C and rank, it's already quite advanced. Meanwhile, Poke Blocks are famously associated with Hone. Perhaps the Poke Block craft might be B rank. In the Hone region, Poke Blocks are very popular. That's largely thanks to Hone's fertile soil, which can grow many rare berries that other regions cannot. Typically, 2-4 berries are mixed to form Poke Blocks, either using a berry blender, a Poke Block kit, or a berry processor. Hikaru doesn't have a berry blender, so he can only try making them by hand. Poke Blocks provide essential nutrients for Pokémon. A berry's smoothness rating affects the Poke Block's texture, which then influences a Pokémon's luster. A well-made block also enhances a Pokémon's coolness, beauty, cuteness, toughness, and cleverness, a fifth type of trait beyond base stats, EVs, IVs, and physical stamina. There are many videos online from contest coordinators. Soon, Hikaru found a highly upvoted tutorial by someone wearing a blue outfit, displaying elegant manners, with a white, silk scarf-like hairstyle, a small handlebar mustache, and a square jaw. That's Juan, Wallace's mentor. Juan was once the gym leader of Pseudo-Poly's city, also known as the second champion of Hone, teacher to the coordinator Master Wallace. When Steven sneaks off to dig for stones, Wallace often takes over as champion, at which time Juan resumes his role as Pseudo-Poly's gym leader. He specializes in water-type Pokémon and is a well-known coordinator as well. Hikaru followed Juan's account. Juan's video was extremely detailed. The flavor and color of Poke Blocks depend on the kinds and numbers of berries used. The resulting number of Poke Blocks equals the number of berries. For handmade blocks, grind the berries into powder, then add mumu milk and sugar. If you have the equipment, you can use a berry processor or a Poke Block machine. During machine processing, berries are densely compressed and blended, with a certain chance of producing high-level Poke Blocks. When eaten, these give higher boosts to the relevant contest stat. You can still produce high-level Poke Blocks by hand, but the rarer the berry, the better the potential for top-quality blocks. Feel free to try. Different block colors also correspond to different flavors. As Juan explained in the video, he also demonstrated a handmade approach, while Hikaru carefully watched. Got it. Hand-making them is basically like making chocolate squares. Anyone who can make chocolate can do this. And the process is similar to rare candy. However, handmade blocks are generally inferior to those made with specialized machines. Still, the regular quality Poke Blocks are fine for home use and not expensive. For instance, orange berry Poke Blocks are very cheap. Following the video, Hikaru began his own attempts. But apparently, you can't just pick up all of one's tips directly from a video. Perhaps because the footage was edited and not complete? In any case, the grinding and simmering steps need no further explanation. As for cooling, he frequently used the ice stone. That stone turned out to be extremely convenient, no fridge needed. The ice stone he bought from Valo is highly effective, probably chipped from some naturally occurring block of ice or an eternal ice deposit. Sorry for calling you a swindler, Valo. At least the ice stone is incredible. With lumberries now harvested, Hikaru naturally decided to include them in his next batch of poke blocks. Obtained, Lumberry Poke Block, High-Level Poke Block. Description: a poke block made by mixing lumberries and various berry powders. It contains multiple flavors, but is predominantly bitter. Effect: increases a Pokémon's toughness and cleverness, adds luster, boosts growth, restores some HP, and is rich in nutrients and energy for a Pokémon's development. Note: eating too many may cause bloating. You have created an extra dish and gained a crafting reward. High-level poke block craft, B+. You can craft high-quality poke blocks. You fully grasp the berry mixing ratio, enabling your poke blocks to have fairly advanced effects. Normally, a yellow-green color block should be mostly sour in taste, but if you add lumberries, it becomes bitter. Hey! Right then, Turwig came over. It had been peeking in from the flower pot for a while, so Hikaru handed the new lumberry poke block to Turwig. Want to try? Turwig tilted its head, recalling the lure cakes and mushrooms it had eaten before. Its eyes sparkled. Another yummy treat. If it were in the wild, it would be much more cautious about random foods. But now that it has been captured, that worry is gone. Turwig chomped down on the poke block, chewing carefully. With its careful nature, it likes bitter flavors and dislikes astringent ones. Turwig really enjoyed this taste, happily munching away. A strange sound came from its shell and the leaves on its head. Hikaru noticed the strong herbs on its back and the bud-like leaf on its head all expanding, looking even glossier and smoother. Increasing luster, hey? It's working on its head leaf and those herbs on its back? Maybe that's because it's part of the plant group. Hikaru chuckled, observing Turwig's leaves and the plants on its shell. After scarfing down a few more poke blocks, Turwig was too full to eat regular food. Its cheeks bulged, and its belly puffed out as it exhaled heavily. Tutor Twig. Oops, that's enough. You can't overeat. Turwig's eyes squeezed shut contentedly as it sprawled on the kitchen floor. Dowblade drifted in and saw Hikaru secretly slicing berries without involving it and got mad. Wasn't it the official kitchen knife around here? Then it glanced at Turwig collapsed on the floor, looking plump and round. Which family's grass pig got in here? Dowblade wrapped Turwig gently in its ribbons and lifted it high. You woo. Child, when you're this full, the entire kitchen calls your name. Ah, Dowblade, mind absorbing a bit of Turwig's excess nutrition? Seems like it overate. Hikaru remembered Dowblade's lore about draining life force from living things. Maybe it could help digestion? This sword is so multi-purpose, the digestive aid sword? You woo. Dowblade blinked both eyes, a sudden idea sparking in its mind. It muttered softly, though it's a knightly sword, perhaps the workshop could add a weight loss service, sure to attract many customers. It seems it has so many functions after all. Dowblade turned its eyes around in deep thought, holding Turwig as it floated out. Turwig was still hiccuping all the while. I've learned 2 new food prep techniques. That should expand the customer base again. Breeders can buy food items from me. But the limitation is the raw materials. The lumberries in Hikaru's orchard alone clearly won't be enough. He'll need to cultivate lumberry and other berries in the relic berry forest as well. Berries grown by Hikaru's hand are higher quality. But until then, buying ordinary berries from other regions is also an option. However, Hikaru recalled that to legally sell poke blocks, you need a breeder's or caretaker's license. A quick online search confirmed it's true, you have to pass an exam. He doesn't have that certification. Making them at home is fine, but to sell them, you need a license. It's to prevent criminals from selling substandard or counterfeit poke blocks. Since his lumberries were now harvested, Hikaru packed some up and delivered them to the village. These really are lumberries. Didn't expect you to actually find them. In terms of berries, these are pretty rare. Thanks to you, I can now formulate more medicines in the herbal shop. The old herbalist was grateful for the lumberries Hikaru brought. While the village does have some network access, the villagers don't have pokegers. Typically, they barter with traveling ruin explorers. Otherwise, they live an isolated, traditional lifestyle. The herbalist began mixing a new remedy, crushing lumberries together with some vital sprouts, while Hikaru watched closely. As he observed the herbalist's proportions, he saw new details pop into his mind. You have actively studied a craft. Acquired, high potency herbal craft, B. Potions you mix now have plus 50% effect. By combining certain berries and herbs, you can create unique, high potency herbal medicines. Recipes unlocked: full restore, revive, max revive, potent herbal tonic. Hikaru was happy to see that he'd unlocked the method for making the revive series, as well as full restore. The herbalist finished preparing the medicine and handed a portion to Hikaru. Think of this as my thanks. This is a special secret medicine of Shinto. If you take it, it'll boost your stamina and cure illnesses. Long ago, an epidemic struck our berries here, wiping out much of my stock. A fruit tree infection? Hikaru didn't expect to hear that in the Pokémon world, but thinking back, the Kalos region did have an event where orchard trees got sick. Hikaru accepted the medicine, crushed lum berries and dried herbs kneaded into small pill-shaped forms. Crafted item: Shinto secret medicine. Description: a secret remedy passed down in ancient Shinto. It strengthens the body and dispels disease. If given to a Pokémon, all of its physical stats increase slightly, letting it surpass its usual limits. By using high-potency herbal craft, Shinto secret medicine can be made. Physical stats. Once again, he'd encountered an item that boosts physical stats across the board, meaning speed, strength, skill, stamina, and jumping all get a boost, though it doesn't enhance elemental powers. This and rare candy both rely on lum berries as a core component, so it looks like Hikaru definitely needs a dedicated lum berry orchard. In Johto, potions that improve physical stats include apricorn juice and the special concoction brewed by an old shuckle caretaker. But apricorn juice only grants a temporary boost and can't exceed a Pokémon's maximum potential stats. Bidding the herbalist farewell, Hikaru returned to his workshop. Overhead, Charizard roars echoed across the sky. Somewhere in the distance, a large group of Charizard was gathered like a legion of dragons. And, a gigantic hot air balloon.
Thanks for listening.